Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I hope that you're all doing well. I hope you're all having a good new year and I hope you're all staying safe in this snowy, stormy weather that we've been having the last few days. Today we're going to aim to complete the football tier list that we've been doing for the best players since the year 2002. Obviously, as you can see on this list, we've still got so many players to go through. Some of the best players to have ever played the game, and obviously some of the best players that have played since I started watching football in the year 2002. So without further ado, guys, let's crack on with part 4. Let's get straight into the video. Okay, so we're starting off the video with one of my favourite players from my early years of watching football, and that is Arsenal legend, Premier League legend, Robert Pires. If you're talking about impact in the Premier League, I think Robert Pires' impact in the Premier League is undoubtable, to be honest. If you're talking about raw quality, if you're talking about how he kind of changed the approach to wingers in the league. Before Pires, wingers were very wide players who would play on the side of their favoured foot, focus on whipping in crosses to big, tall centre forwards, big, tall number 9s. With Pires, he again changed the approach to that. He was more of an inside winger, cut inside, link play with Henry, and kind of invert to a more inverted number 10 position, try and aim to get into the box to score goals and create goals. And that was the main role of Pires in Arsenal. And then from that, obviously, we got a whole load of other wingers that would kind of follow suit for what Robert Pires did in those early years at Arsenal. You talk like Cristiano Ronaldo when he going to play it on the left in his later part of his Man United career. You think of Joe Cole coming in from the left and kind of cutting in on his right-hand side, playing for the England national team. So we've saw it loads, and obviously was a bit of a game changer for football. And Robert Pires was one of the main guys for that, really. Like an inverted winger who would be more focused on scoring goals and providing end product than being a creator necessarily, even though his playmaking ability was still fantastic. Pires, he was tall, strong, physical, aggressive as well, with incredible technique. Amazing, obviously, like I said, goal scoring ability for what was considered for a winger at that point in time. So if we're looking at Pires' best years in this era, we're looking at 2002 till 2005, really, is when Pires was really at his peak. After that, he kind of started to drop off in his last year at Arsenal, wasn't playing as much, was kind of in and out of the team, and then went to Villarreal. Obviously had a big impact at Villarreal, got to a Champions League semi-final, was brilliant for Villarreal. But would I say Pires was as impactful in La Liga as someone like a Juan Mata, for example, or David Silva? I don't think he comes anywhere near those. So if we're looking at Pires mainly impacting the Premier League, Pires is a legend, definitely, in the Premier League. Right, let's see if we can rank Pires, because I feel like this is going to be quite difficult to do. Pires as a winger post-2002, I think he had more impact on the game than Giggs, even though Giggs obviously is far more successful, has better longevity than Pires. But I think for how effective Pires was on that left-hand side, cutting in on his right, the way he linked up with Thierry Henry, like I said, the technical ability as well, how graceful he was on the ball. His running style as well, he had this unique running style, Pires. He was very kind of bulky and strong, but he had pace as well. Pires was really entertaining to watch for Arsenal. And this is Arsenal's best era. So Robert Pires, he's over Nedved. For the same period of time, I don't think he's over Pavel Nedved. I don't think so. Personally, obviously, if I'm being completely subjective, then obviously Pires is a legend for me. I would have him in that legend category. But on the world game, is his impact in this era the same as someone like Di Maria? Obviously not. He doesn't come close to what Di Maria's achieved. David Silva obviously played similar position out on the left and kind of cut inside onto his right and create and score goals. He wasn't as impactful as David Silva. I can't have him in that conversation. Is he close to Hazard? Oh, I don't think so, no. I think for this year, I'd still have Eden Hazard. I'm debating having Hazard higher, to be honest. I think trying to be objective, Hazard's impact in the Premier League is quite high, to be honest. Hazard, I think, did it for more years than Deco. Hazard was a good creator, one of the best dribblers the Premier League's ever seen, Eden Hazard. Very, very tough, because I do, like I said, throughout all of this, I do think Eden Hazard is a little bit overrated. As much as that pains me to say it, because he was so entertaining to watch for Chelsea. You know, me looking at Perez here, I'm looking at Del Piero. Del Piero doesn't look right there at all, does he? Del Piero is probably the player I've moved around the most in these videos, because his peak was before 2002, but he was still so good after 2002. Up until about 2008, 2009, like, the guy was still getting 20, 25 goals a season. Was Juventus' best player, arguably still the best player in Serie A. Maybe give and take a few years where Zlatan was peaking at Inter for that 3-year stretch when they won Serie A. Del Piero has to be higher than Nedved, I think. I'm sure he was Serie A Player of the Year in 2008, you know. I'm sure he was. So that longevity is crazy from Del Piero. Is Del Piero over Perez? I think so. Is Del Piero over Hazard? Yes, I think he is. I think Del Piero's got to be in the icon category. I think not having Del Piero, even for the 5-6 years that he played in this era, where he was at his best, where he was giving his best work, even up until his early 30s, Del Piero was still so good for Juventus and for Italy. I think he's above Alisson, Lucio. I think he might be around here, you know. Is he above Kane? No, I don't think he's above Kane. I think Kane still had a bigger impact than Del Piero, even though Del Piero has achieved more. I'm gonna have Del Piero there. I'm gonna have Del Piero just underneath Harry Kane. I think Kane's goals and relentless pursuit of goals. Because Kane, no, he's not. No, Kane's definitely above Del Piero. I think Del Piero does sit there for me, because Juventus was still really, really well. They were brilliant, really, at the start of this era. They did fade out, obviously, a little bit towards the end, but Del Piero was never present in that team. I will have Del Piero there. I will. I'll have him just above Lucio, which means Perez, in this era, did he have a bigger impact than Figo? Then again, Figo was still really important for Portugal in the 2006 World Cup. By that time, Perez had dropped off. Perez, for that 3-year stretch between 2002 to 2005, he was elite for Arsenal. He really was. As a goal scorer, as a creator, the way he played with Henry, and the way he kind of have that amazing relationship with Ashley Cole and Henry on that left-hand side. I think Perez is above Carvajal. I think Figo's above Lukaku, you know. I think Figo all-round was better than Lukaku, which means Perez... I'm going to have Perez there, I think. I've brought Lukaku down. Lukaku's underneath Carvajal, but Perez is above Carvajal. No, he's not. There. I think I'm happy with that. I think. Figo, Carvajal, Perez, Lukaku, Evra, closer. Yeah, I'm happy with that, I think. I'm happy with that. Perez sits in that world-class category, but he's not above players like Pavel Nedved. I think Nedved had a bigger impact than Perez. So did Campbell. Aubameyang did as well. Even though Aubameyang played for Arsenal when Arsenal weren't at their peak, Perez did play for Arsenal when they were at their peak. Is Aubameyang too high? I think so. You know what? I'm going to put Cavani there, and I'm going to put Aubameyang there, I think there. Because as great as Aubameyang was as a goal scorer, as the main man in that Arsenal team, if you ever watched Aubameyang, he'd have 5 or 6 chances in a game, and he'd score 2 or 1. Like, he'd miss a lot of chances to get the goals that he eventually got. Like, if he was more clinical, he could have got 30, 40 goals a season, Aubameyang. He never really got that level, playing at the peak elite level, which was the Premier League when he was playing. Giggs there, Nedved, Milito, Figo, Carvajal, Perez, Lukaku. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Does Milito have to come down? Oh, this is getting tough. I'm going to leave them there for now, and we'll see what happens as we progress through the video. Next up is Andrea Pirlo. Now, Pirlo, this might be controversial for some people. Pirlo's one of the best midfielders of his generation, I think. Pirlo's above Lampard for me. Pirlo, let's just talk about Pirlo for a bit. He was the best player for Italy in that 2006 World Cup. Him and Cannavaro, for me, you could kind of go either or. But for me, Pirlo, he controlled pretty much every game he played in. The importance that he had in that team, the influence, how important he was for the goals that they scored in the semi-finals, in the final as well, setting up Materazzi's header. And then post-2006, you look at the longevity he had well into the 2010s, the kind of renaissance of Juventus in the 2010s. Pirlo was possibly the most important player in that renaissance period for Juventus. Left AC Milan, obviously, was seen as surplus to requirements. His career was already past his best. Goes to Juventus and completely dominates Serie A and becomes one of the most dominant midfielders in Europe well into his 30s, which shows his quality. One of the best passers of the ball I've ever seen. One of the best controllers of a game I've ever seen, especially from deep positions. Technically flawless, amazing from set pieces. I'm having Pirlo over Modrić. I am. Even though a lot of people might disagree with that, I think Pirlo is over Modrić for me. Pirlo is better than Lewandowski. He's better than Di Maria. He's better than Lahm, better than Buffon. If we're looking at direct competition for Pirlo, we're looking at this here, I think. Is Pirlo above Sergio Busquets? Now, they're very different players. Busquets was a more defensive-minded midfield player, where Pirlo was a more of a deep-line playmaker, especially as he got older. Pirlo over De Bruyne. I think Pirlo's over De Bruyne. They're so different. It's so hard to judge them because De Bruyne was about numbers. He was about goals and assists and creating, where Pirlo was more about dictating the tempo of a football match. You're talking about Pirlo, you're talking about Paul Scholes in his late years at Man United, you're talking about Xavi, Gerrard maybe in his late years at Liverpool to an extent. I think Pirlo is in that conversation for me. I think Henry has to move up, I'm going to have Henry in the GOAT tier. It's Henry and one other striker for me that are the best in this period of time, and I think Pirlo could join that tier 1 category, I think. This is not just about how good they were individually on their best day. Because if that was this list, we'd get to Neymar being probably 3rd on this list or 4th on this list. This is about overall career, their impact on the game, their longevity, their success, their individual accolades, their ability as well obviously does come into it. I think Pirlo has had a bigger impact. I think he's been more important to the teams he played for. At the elite level, we're talking World Cup winning champions, we're talking about Champions League winning teams, we're talking about multiple league titles over the spans of a decade. Pirlo was essential in pretty much every single team he played in. Where Neymar, when he first come into Barcelona, he wasn't that. It was Messi's team, and Xavi still had a big influence, and Iniesta still had a big influence. Pirlo, I think, in the peak where AC Milan were dominating Europe, he was one of the most important players in that team. Obviously, then we think about Juventus, Italy, you talk about Euro 2012. Pirlo was arguably the best midfielder in that tournament, an iconic tournament from Pirlo. I'm having Pirlo over Neymar. I'm having Pirlo. Again, we're talking big games. Pirlo in big games was so crucial, man. Dragging that Italy team to a final in Euro 2012 when that team individually, they had no right to be where they were in that tournament. I'm going to have Pirlo there. I think Eto'o did have more impact than Pirlo, I think. Whether that just be a nature of Eto'o being a striker, or did he? I don't know. Because if you think about Eto'o when his career started winding down, you think in 2011, 2012. If anything, that's when Pirlo hit like a second peak in his career, and then went for the next 3-4 years dominating Italian football, getting to European finals with Juventus. Again, being the most important player in that Juventus team. I think I'm going to have Pirlo just above Eto'o. I am. I'm going to have Pirlo just above Eto'o. I don't know if Pirlo's above Busquets. I could have Busquets in the GOAT tier, actually. Is Busquets the greatest of all time in his position on the pitch as far as this era goes, 2002 onwards? The only other player similar to Busquets would be like a Rodri, but even Rodri gets more forward than Busquets did. Busquets rarely ever ventured forward. His role in the team was to screen the back four, win the ball back with clever interceptions, retain the ball. Busquets was the best at that. He wasn't the most flashiest player, but on the ball, he was so hard to get the ball off. Games ran through Busquets like they did with Pirlo. I'm going to leave it at that for now. I'm going to leave it at that for now. I think genuinely, I know the Pirlo thing's going to spark a bit of debate. I think Modric is close to Pirlo. They're not too dissimilar in a way, I don't think, actually. I don't think there's much difference between Pirlo and Modric. I'm thinking Modric, his importance for Real Madrid, his importance for Tottenham, his importance for the Croatian national team, I think has him above Lewandowski. It does. Is he above Di Maria? Oh, I don't know. I was having this discussion with one of my mates the other day, actually, about Di Maria and Modric. I think on their best day, I know this isn't what this list is, but just to make the point, I think on their best day, I'm still taking Di Maria. I think he had more to his game than Modric. But then again, Modric could do things Di Maria couldn't do. They're both so different again. Di Maria was a wide player, also kind of a central player. He was more about his athleticism, his speed, his dribbling, his trickery, creativity. Modric was more about dictating the game, being the controller of the game, similar to what Pirlo was, really. That has to bring Modric up, I think. I think Modric is... Modric is there. I think Buffon I'd still have Buffon above Modric. I think Buffon is the second greatest goalkeeper of his era. I don't think Modric can come... I don't think he's there for me. I don't think. Modric is in that second tier along with Pirlo, and I think Busquets has to move up, actually. I'm going to put Busquets in the GOAT tier. I am. Henry has got to move up, I think, in this. I'm having Henry above Terry, not above Neuer. Neuer was a freak, man. Consistently for like a decade. Henry at Arsenal was a freak, man. He was a freak at Arsenal. The game against Inter Milan as well in the Champions League, the games against Barcelona, where he did kind of flop a little bit, but it's so tough for Henry. The game against Real Madrid, he was amazing. Against Juventus, he was amazing. So he wasn't just Premier League specific. He was performing in Europe as well for Arsenal, internationally as well for France. He was still very impressive. It's the big games for Henry, though, I think, that bring him down a little bit. His big games, the finals, the semi-finals, when you really need Thierry Henry to step up in those big games, he does kind of go missing a little bit, Henry. Dani Alves didn't really do that. Maldini didn't do that. Nesta didn't do that. Iniesta didn't do that. I think consistently he was underperforming in big games, which leads me to have Henry just there, I think. Just underneath Dani Alves. So Busquets and Henry have been bought up, which means Pirlo sits just underneath Benzema. And I'm happy with that, I think. Pirlo, people underestimate how amazing Andrea Pirlo was. Technically flawless, rarely put a foot wrong, rarely lost the ball. You couldn't get the ball off him. Passing ability, as good as anybody. Eye for a goal. Importance in big games. Influence over teams that won the biggest trophies during his playing career. I think Pirlo is definitely in that category for me. Just misses out on the GOAT tier, I think, because again, I want that GOAT tier to be very limited, but it's so close. It's really, really close for me. But we'll leave it there for now. For Pirlo definitely sits there. Next up on that list is Paul Pogba. Now, Pogba's tough because he's probably the most on his day footballer ever. I can never remember a player that sums up the phrase on his day more than Paul Pogba. Because on his day, Paul Pogba was unplayable. He literally was. On his day, he was arguably the best midfielder in the world during his career. You couldn't stop him. He was physically a beast, technically gifted. His passing range was ridiculous. Striking of the ball, his technique. Pogba was everything, man. But the thing with Pogba, again, it's his inconsistency. His consistency issues are massive for Pogba. He just wasn't consistent. At Juventus, Pogba was a problem at Juventus. When he was playing with Pirlo and Vidal and Marquisio, I think he had leaders around him, and I think that's when Pogba flourished. Pogba wasn't the man to lead a team, in my opinion. He always needed players around him to help get him to the level that he could get to. If you look at, like I said, Juventus, he had Vidal, Marquisio, Pirlo, Liechtensteiner, Tevez. He had leaders around him, players that could drag Pogba and get the best out of him. Where at Man United, he was expected to be the man to do that for the rest of the team, and he didn't. Obviously, there's individual games where Pogba had. His first season under Mourinho, he was pretty good. The way he linked up with Zlatan, that combination was really good. But then after that, it's rough really for Pogba. It's really, really rough there for Man United, because he'd have one great game in like every 4 or 5 games. At the top elite level of football, that's not good enough. 2018 World Cup, he was incredible, but again, he's playing with Kante, he's playing with Matuidi, he's playing with players that are going to cover for Pogba's inefficiencies as a footballer, tactically. Pogba is a high quality footballer, but I don't think Pogba was world class. I don't think he is. Like, SCN, for example, was very injury. The injuries were the thing that held him back. Where Pogba, it was attitude, it was discipline, it was a lack of adaptation in his game. Even when he was, 28, 29, he was still doing the same things that he was doing when he was 21, making the same mistakes, didn't really mature as a footballer. So I think it puts him with like players like Anelka, De Gea, Mata. Does he create the low end of world class? Because that time at Juventus, the French national team, is that enough to bring him into this category? If it is, it's very, very low. It's very, very low. Like, Pogba at Juventus was incredible. Like I said, Pogba at Juventus was one of the best midfielders on the planet. But I think a lot of it was circumstantial because of the players he had around him, the team he had around him. Very much an individual, one of the most talented midfielders I've ever seen, really. But just didn't have the discipline, didn't have the drive to be a leader and a success in the game, in my opinion. I think he reached a peak and kind of just was satisfied with that, which leads me to put Pogba. I'm going to bring Forlan up. I'm going to have Forlan over Klose. I'm going to have Forlan over Lukaku. I am, yeah. Forlan's over Lukaku. Oh, is Pogba in tier 5 or tier 4? Oh, this is tough. This is really, really tough. Klose has that international record. He's one of the greatest international footballers ever, where Pogba had an amazing international tournament for France. 2016, he was okay. 2021 Euros, he was pretty good, but France got knocked out quite early, and that got knocked out the quarters, or round of 16 to Switzerland. So he had flashes again. I think Anelka should come up, and then Pogba goes under Anelka, I think. No, he doesn't. Who's had a bigger impact out of Anelka? And it's so tough, because I think these two players, specifically Anelka and Pogba, they're so talented. They've got so much raw ability. But again, it's the discipline, it's the focus, it's the inconsistency issues. Very similar. Klose has achieved more than Pogba in the game, I think. Both World Cup winners, but Klose's impact in those big World Cup games for Germany, it's tough. I think as an overall footballer, Pogba's better than Klose. But this is the thing that I think he's above Klose. I think he is. I think he's just above Klose. I don't think he's above Evra. Evra was way more consistent. Lukaku's been more consistent than Pogba. I think I'm happy with that, I think. Like I said, talent-wise, for me, Pogba could be up here, really. But I think for now, he's got to be there. Because I think Deco, I'm thinking very similar things with Pogba as I am with Deco. But I think Deco's peak was higher than Pogba. I think Pogba at his peak was one of the best midfielders in the world. Maybe on an off game here and there, he was the best, where Deco for 2-3 years was the best midfielder on the planet, in my opinion. I think Deco was head and shoulders above pretty much every other midfielder up until about 2005, 2006. I think Deco was that for a 4-year stretch, where Pogba, he had probably 1 or 2 world-class seasons at Juve, an okay season at Man United, and then the rest was disappointment and inconsistencies and problems and issues. I'm going to leave Pogba there. Just above Miroslav Klose, just above tier 5, I think. I think Pogba at his best is better than Anelka. I think Pogba was a bit more consistent than Anelka, maybe. I think Anelka was the type of player to have an amazing season and then have 2-3 seasons where he was pretty average or inconsistent, and then have another amazing season, where Pogba had a few consistent seasons where he was really, really good, and then tapered off and then would, be inconsistent. But they're very close. I mean, there's one place separating them, so they're very, very close. But for now, we're going to leave Pogba there. He could change later on. Obviously, like I said, a lot of these players are moving around, so it's tough. Right, Lucas Podolski. Podolski was good. He was a good player, Podolski. He was good. When he broke through for the German national team, and at Cologne in Germany, when he was young, he was seen as Germany's next big thing, then their next brightest talent. And he had amazing attributes. He was very quick, very direct. One of the best left foots I've ever seen in the game. His volleys, the power of his shots from Podolski, he was lethal in the right position. But I think his inability to ever really perform at a big club, whether it was at Bayern, whether it was at Arsenal, Inter, I think he was never really the one to perform at the top level, Podolski. Podolski was great for Cologne, Arsenal when they were dropping off for a short period of time. It was inconsistent whether he was playing as a striker, a left winger, a left mid. He could never really find a set position on the pitch. So Podolski, I think he's high. He's definitely higher than Michael Owen. He's higher than Henderson. He's a bit of a legend for the German national team, Podolski. It's similar to Klose in a way, but never reached that level internationally that Klose did. But performances for Germany, Podolski was always very impressive. It's again his club level which really brings him down. Like Klose had seasons where he was playing amazing at club level, where Podolski at club level never really impressed me. For me, I was never really impressed consistently with Podolski at club level, which leaves Podolski in this area. I think he sits somewhere between Berbatov and Giroud. I'm going to have him just underneath Olivier Giroud, I think. Who was the better player at their peak, Gomez or Podolski? I'd say Gomez. That Stuttgart season, the 11-12 season at Bayern, the guy was a machine. Podolski never reached that level. So as a German striker goes, I would have Gomez there, but Podolski, I think, just under Olivier Giroud for me. Next up, we have Carlos Puyol, one of the greatest captains in the history of the game for me. A very, very good centre-back. I don't think he was as good as PK. I don't think. I think PK was better, even though I prefer the style of defender that Puyol was. Brave as a lion, would put your head play where other players wouldn't put their feet. His passion, his dedication to Barcelona, and he would never run out of energy. His versatility as well. He was really good at playing right back as well as playing centre back. Puyol as a centre back, for what he's achieved, part of those great Spain teams as well. On the ball, he was good. I think he's had more impact than Sol, Puyol. I think he has. He's had more impact than Campbell. He's had more impact than Mascherano. He's an icon for sure. Puyol's definitely an icon. 100%. He's an icon of the game. I don't think he's as good as Puyol though, so I can't have him here. I think he's in the icon tier, but it's just deciding where he sits. Lucio or Puyol at their best. It's tough. I think Puyol was more consistent than Lucio throughout their career. Both similar ages as well, so kind of both peaked and fell off at the same time. I just have Puyol above Lucio. I don't think I'll have Puyol above Del Piero. I don't think so. I don't think I'll have Puyol above Del Piero. I think Del Piero was so crucial to Juventus, where I think Barcelona reached a point where they didn't rely on players like Puyol. Even like I said, captain-wise, he's one of the greatest captains in the history of the game, in my opinion. It's very close. Chiellini and Bonucci were better than Puyol, in my opinion. I think they were. I think Chiellini was I think he was a smarter defender than Puyol. And I think Bonucci had more attributes than Puyol. Puyol was nowhere near as good of a distributor as Bonucci. I'm going to leave Puyol there for now. Just above Lucio, but not above Del Piero. Next up, oh, this is going to be fun. This is going to be very interesting. R9. I think if we're talking all time, so this isn't 2002 onwards, this is separate. I think if we're talking all time players, impact-wise, their influence on the game, the way they changed the game, R9 is very, very high. R9 is like... R9 could be here. R9 could be there. I genuinely think so. I think talent and ability-wise, there's only Messi. I think if you're talking about... This is so difficult to rank R9 because I feel bad putting R9 anywhere other than the GOAT tier. But for 2002 onwards, R9's career, I can't have R9 in that category. I just can't. Henry's had a better career post-2002 than R9. He just has. He just has. Like, they're not even comparable. I know R9's won the World Cup, the 2002 World Cup, the comeback from all the injuries. I'm fully aware of that. 2002 World Cup was the first World Cup I ever saw. That was the first football I'd ever seen really consistently. And R9 was incredible. I think he scored in every game in the 2002 World Cup, except from the quarters against England. He scored in every game. He scored like 8 goals that tournament. He was incredible. And that wasn't really R9 at his best in a way. Similar to, if you talk about the span of their careers and when they kind of fell off, it's very similar to Owen in a way. I think Ronaldo was definitely a higher level than Michael Owen. That's not even a debate. But if you're talking about the way that their careers panned out, very similar in a way. As a striker, he's not above Eto'o. Eto'o's achieved way more than R9. If you're talking R9 when he was... The best years of R9 in this era is 2002 through till 2004, maybe 2005, and then his fitness really started to decline, the weight gain, the injuries. I mean, you want to talk about injuries ruining a player's career, R9 is probably the biggest example of that. Injuries ruined R9's career, man. It really did, and it's so sad because, like I said, individual talent, all-time impact on the game of football, R9 is second, probably, for me. I think if you talk about every other striker in this list, pretty much was inspired and tried to replicate R9. So that on its own is a massive statement and a massive achievement when you look at R9's career. I just think in this era, I just can't have him in there. I think he's still an icon of the game, R9. The 2002 World Cup alone is so iconic for Ronaldo that no one really else on this compares to that World Cup alone. It's one of the greatest World Cup performances of all time, that 2002 World Cup. But by the time the 2006 World Cup came around, Ronaldo was a shell of his former self. He's not even comparable to the player he was. Is R9 above Griezmann? No, he's not. He's not above Antoine Griezmann. He's not above Del Piero. See, we look a bit further down and you're looking at people like Falcao, who time-wise had a very similar peak, time-wise, as R9 in this era. About 3 years. But Falcao had the injuries, he came back. He was still very productive for Monaco. Still had a, very solid career post injuries and when he came back, except from Man United and Chelsea. But R9, I mean, the guy's a freak though. R9 is a freak because even with the weight gain and the injuries, the guy was still amazing. It's just, he's a freak, R9. Because even like the last few years at Real Madrid, where physically he was a shell of his former self, he was still able to score goals pretty consistently, to be honest, considering all the problems he had. He was still an amazing goal scorer. Technically, he never lost his technique, the way he struck the ball, his ability to shift the ball from one foot to the other, the flair, that never went away for R9. It was just the pace, the directness of his play. Again, his physicality come down so much. He couldn't play in the same way. R9 at his best is probably the most complete striker of all time. But that is not this era. It's just not this era. And I think R9 is really leaning heavily on that World Cup. For me, it's one of the best World Cups of anyone I've ever saw in my lifetime. Probably, maybe only Mbappe in 2022 could compare. But even then, I'd still have Ronaldo over him, I think. And again, the guy was still getting 25 goals a season, even when he was like physically shot. By the time he got to AC Milan, you can't even... I mean, the guy was so washed at that point. It's not even worth talking about at that point in his career. So you're really looking at 2-3 years of R9. Not at his peak. Not at his peak. But R9's peak is so above pretty much every other footballer ever that R9 at a good level for his level is still above most strikers in the game. R9 for me is not above Harry Kane, which is a crazy statement to say. It really is. But Harry Kane in this time frame has had a far better career than R9. A far better career. So they're not comparable. He's not comparable with Del Piero. I'm going to have R9 there, just underneath Puyol, because I think Puyol's impact for Barcelona and the Spanish national team over a continued period of time, post-2002, completely triumphs R9 in every possible way. Come 2006, R9 was a shell of his former self. He's not even comparable to the player he was. I'm going to just have him above Lucio. Just. It's so close, but I'm going to just have him above Lucio. Because yes, Lucio had the longevity, he's got the treble with Inter, his performances for Leverkusen and Bayern. I just think that 2002 World Cup performance for R9 was just freakish. Like, Higuain never reached that. Falcao arguably never reached that. And like I said, for me, the World Cup is like the pinnacle of football, even more so than the Champions League, because it's such a rare achievement for the World Cup, and you get all the best players competing from around the world, where, Champions League is very limited to only Europe. You get a lot of fodder in the group stages. Similar to a World Cup, you can come against a Panama or whatever, but the World Cup is the elite for me, and R9 in this time period, just in this time period, managed to have an all-timer tournament. I'm going to reluctant, and that's not even considering his performance against Man United at Old Trafford, that amazing hat-trick. Like, that wasn't R9 at his best. That's what I'm trying to say about R9. Even R9, not at his peak, he's still the type of player to go to Old Trafford and score a hat-trick. It's like, this is the level of player we're talking about. So R9 sits there for me, but it's, again, it feels wrong not having him in the legend category, but he's not above Harry Kane. He's not. The goal scoring ability that Harry Kane's had, the way Harry Kane has got so many different facets to his game. He can play as a hold-up striker, he can link play, he can drift out wide and whip balls in, he can play deep, he can play in front of a back four and spray Gerrard-esque passes to wingers. Like, R9 couldn't do that in this era. He couldn't. If we're talking, like I said before, if we're talking 1998, R9 at Inter, the World Cup 98, the performance against Lazio in the UEFA Cup final, this is a completely different conversation, completely different. But 2002 onwards, R9, I'm sorry, he has to sit there. I mean, in all fairness, I could get away with having R9 down here, because R9 really, if we really break it down, is R9 ahead of Cavani. I know Cavani's never had that World Cup performance and the tournament that R9 had, which again I think he's pulling a lot of weight for R9 here. And probably 2 years at Real Madrid where he was still elite, even though he wasn't the R9 of 98 or 97. He was still one of the best strikers in the world, but he was not better than Henry in that period of time. He wasn't better than Shevchenko in that period of time. He wasn't better than Van Nistelrooy in that period of time, in my opinion, consistently. So even in the early part of this era, except from maybe 2002 World Cup, R9 isn't even in the top 3 strikers in the world. I'm so tempted to bring R9 down. I really am. The more I'm talking about R9, the more I'm thinking he shouldn't be in this icon tier. He's an icon of the game, but is he an icon of the game for what he did post 2002? No. He's an icon for what he did in the game pre 2002 and before, not 2002 onwards. So tough. I'm just going to leave him there. I'm going to leave him there for now, and when we come to rank the ending of this, we'll see. But for now, I'm just going to have R9 there because it's going to take ages. I'm just going to keep flipping and flopping on it. It's too difficult. Right, next up we have... Is that Rakitic? Yes, it is. Ivan Rakitic. Rakitic is a brilliant midfield player. But if you're talking Croatian midfield players, he's not better than Modrić. Is he better than Brozovic at his best? Yes, I think he is. So he's not better than Modrić. So I can't have him in this category. I don't think he belongs in the legend category. I think he's very high world class, I think. I want to bring Mascherano down and put Mascherano... Mascherano's way too high in this. Mascherano's definitely too high. There. So Mascherano goes there. I think Rakitic goes there. No, he doesn't. He's above Pepe. He's above Pepe. Rakitic, that treble year for Barca in 2015, Rakitic was incredible that season. That's not to mention his time at Sevilla as well, where he won all those Europa Leagues in those early years. 2018 World Cup as well, Rakitic was incredible in that World Cup. Kind of gets overshone a little bit because of what Modrić did, but he was still so important in that team. As a midfielder, he's not above Kroos, so I can't have him above Toni Kroos. So I think he's not here. So let's work our way down. Kane or Rakitic? Kane. Rakitic or Del Piero? Del Piero. Rakitic or Puyol? Rakitic or R9? The R9 thing is really tripping me out, I think. Because having R9 there is making other players so hard to rank. I'm trying to forget everything before 2002 with R9 and just focus on post 2002. Is Rakitic's treble year better than R9's World Cup in 2002? Impact-wise, no, I don't think. So I think R9 just is above Rakitic. Rakitic above Lucio. Rakitic is above Ballack, I think. Yeah, he is. Rakitic is above Ballack. Even though I love Michael Ballack, but I do think he's probably just above him. I think Rakitic is there for me. I think he's just underneath Lucio, who had the better treble year. Lucio, who played better in that treble year. Lucio in 2010 or Rakitic in 2015. I think Lucio. I'm going to have Lucio just above Rakitic and Rakitic just above Alisson. I think talent-wise, obviously, Alisson, I think, is a better goalkeeper than Rakitic is a midfielder. But I think in the context of Rakitic's longevity for Sevilla, for Barca, for Croatia, for how important he was at Barcelona in his time that he played there. His versatility, he could play deeper in the midfield, he could play further up the pitch, he could play really directly in the middle. He could score goals, he could defend, he could dictate play, he's got good passing ability. Rakitic is so versatile. I think Rakitic just sits there for me. It's tough because I could bring him down but I'm going to leave him there for now. Just about. Sergio Ramos. Ramos is another one, man. I don't think Ramos is above PK. I don't think he is. As a defender, I think as an overall footballer, Sergio Ramos technically is one of the most technically gifted defenders ever. His goal scoring ability, the striking he has on the ball, his aerial ability, his performances in big games. Sergio Ramos will always be defined by his big game moments, whether it be goals in the Champions League final, that game against Atleti in 2014, the Champions League, when he scored in the last minute to take it to extra time. That's what defines Ramos, his big moments and goals and things that are unusual for a defender. He was an amazing right back as well, was bought when he was 18 from Sevilla, went to Real Madrid, displaced Michel Salgado, was better than Salgado, was a massive upgrade in my opinion. Ramos was an amazing right back, and then under Mourinho, he kind of converted him into a centre-back. He played with Varane. Ramos really does define this era as a centre-back, but I don't think Ramos is above John Terry. I don't think Ramos is above PK. He's above Pepe. He is. He's above Hummels. Is he above Cannavaro? Ooh. I don't think Ramos has ever had a spell like Cannavaro did in the mid-2000s, where Cannavaro was just virtually unplayable as a defender. And the longevity. Longevity is tough because it's hard to rank players' longevity over quality. It's a big debate. Ramos is above Lucio, even though that pains me to say, because I think Lucio overall is a better defender than Ramos. But Ramos' impact for Real Madrid is just undeniable. So he's not above PK. He's not above Cafu for me. He's not. He's not above Kaká. He's not above Drogba. He's not above Kante, I don't think. Ramos for me is somewhere between there and there. And I don't know where to put him. This is tough. I'm going to bring Cannavaro over Makelele, I think. Ramos is above Bonucci. He's above Bonucci. He's above Makelele. Him and Cannavaro is stumping me in a bad way. Cannavaro was a far better defender than Ramos. He was better than Ramos. Cannavaro. Yes, he was. I'm going to leave Ramos there for now. Yeah, I am. I'm going to leave him there. Ramos sits there for me. I think, again, Ramos, first and foremost, is a defender. I think one of the weakest parts of Ramos's game is his discipline, his defensive awareness, his ability to read the game. I don't think Ramos was very good at that at all. I think Varane was better than that, to be honest. I think Varane had more defensive awareness than Ramos, but Ramos had more drive, I think, than Varane. I think Varane was better than Ramos at points, maybe. But Ramos was so crucial in big games for Real Madrid. His performances in finals, his technique as a centre-back, the goal scoring, the set pieces, his ability from corners. Like, am I judging Ramos more for the impact he made at the top of the pitch over his importance from at the other side of the pitch, where that's where his main position was? It's tough. I don't think he's over. I'm going to have Cannavaro over Fabregas, I think. I think so. No, I'm not. Cannavaro, Real Madrid was not that great. Cannavaro up to 2006 was elite. I don't think I've ever really looked at Sergio Ramos as an elite centre-back. Like, for me, PK was better centre-back wise. PK's better. John Terry's better. Nesta's better. He's not above Cannavaro. No, he's not. I'm going to leave it there. I think Ramos is so hard to judge, but I'm going to leave it there. I'm not the biggest fan of Ramos, I must admit. I think he's a little bit overrated. I think Ramos has got the most like aura attacks that you could think of in football. He's an aura footballer. It's what is his presence and what he brings to the pitch and the way he lifts his teammates because of his presence. But as an overall player, as a defender, I think he was so shaky. But it's his impact at the top of the pitch that really defines him. Okay, so the next player on this list, we have a Real Madrid legend. Certainly one of the best Spanish strikers of all time. The former Spanish record goal scorer, Raul. Now, Raul is tough because he's had such a long, prime, Raul. He really peaked in the late 90s, early 2000s. I'd say from 96, 97 through till 2006, maybe. That's Raul's peak. So he had a good 10 years, and obviously he was still very good for Real Madrid post then, but he was not their main striker. When you look at players like Van Nistelrooy, they brought in Huntelaar, Benzema, obviously, of course. And then Raul would eventually be phased out the team. He'd go on to Schalke and have a very respectable time at Schalke as well. Was a big part in Schalke making the Champions League semi-final in 2011. Raul is definitely a legend of the game, minimum. Even for this era, his impact is massive. Won the Champions League with Real Madrid, obviously, in this time. Won a few La Ligas with Real Madrid. I think Raul... The question is Raul above players like Aguero? Is Raul above David Villa? Villa became Spain's record goal scorer in this time, which is a big marker over Raul. There's not that much difference as far as peaks go. Like, as far as Raul was really consistent up until about 2011, 2012. And then, he would start to really show his age. He got to Qatar, and that was pretty much the end of his career when he went to play in Qatar. But up until that point, Raul was always a very great to good striker. So he's definitely above that tier. I would have Raul as an iconic striker of this era for sure. I think he's in a similar category to someone like a Del Piero, Raul, I think. They both kind of tapered off around the same time. Both had their peak years in around the same time. I think him and Del Piero are very close. The only question, obviously, then is who would I have above the other? Two icons for their clubs. Very long-standing servants for their clubs as well. Serie A legend, La Liga legend. I'm going to just have Raul, I think, just over Del Piero. Because I think Raul... Is Raul over Harry Kane? I don't think so, no. I don't think he is. I don't think so. I could have Harry Kane higher than that, but I'm going to leave him there. But I think Raul, for me, just over Del Piero, I'm pretty happy with that. Like I said, Raul's goal scoring in this period is very, very good, but it's not just the goals with Raul. It's his playmaking ability as well. As he got a bit older, you saw it at Schalke, his technical ability on the ball, the way he linked people into play. Raul, for me, Champions League legend as well. Yeah, I'm going to have him... Is he above Harry Kane, Raul? I think I'm pretty comfortable putting him over Del Piero. Just over Del Piero. Okay, I'm gonna leave him there. I'm gonna leave Raul just above Del Piero. It's very close. Like, they are very, very close. But Raul, it's just there for me. Next up is Marco Reus. Another player who I feel like never really reached their peak because of injuries, even though he had a few seasons here and there where he was world class. A very, very talented player, Reus. Could play wide, could play centrally as a number 10. Could play as like a second striker as well. Reus was so talented. But again, it's the injuries with Reus. I think him near like a Nelka, Pogba, like, he's around this range for me, Reus. Definitely a legend of Borussia Dortmund, but is he maybe just over Pogba? No, I think Pogba at his best was better than Reus. I think Pogba reached a higher level than Reus when Pogba was at his best. So, closer was more important for Germany, for sure. I'm going to have Reus. I'm going to have Reus just under David De Gea. I'm going to have Royce just under David De Gea. So he just misses out on that world-class category. It's not far off for Royce. I think Royce in periods was world-class, but the injuries, just he could never really get a consistent run for a few years without no injuries and really establish himself. The injuries were just a killer for Royce, but he's like, if you're talking talent-wise, for German footballers, Royce is definitely up there. Royce is incredible. So moving away from Royce, we have another Bundesliga legend, Frank Ribery. Ribery is definitely higher than Royce. I mean, that's not a debate for me. Peak Ribery is incredible. Such a direct winger, so talented. I feel like we need to start here and work our way up. He's definitely above Pires. He's definitely above Figo. Definitely above Nedved. He's above Giggs for me. I'd say he's above all of these, to be honest. He's above Cole, yes. He's above Isco, no doubt. Above Casemiro. Ribery versus Mane. He's above Mane, for sure. That's not even comparable, in my opinion. He's above Higuain. He's above Hazard. He's above Deco, above Falcao, above Ballack. So he's in the icon tier, Ribery. I think comfortably. He's over Hummels. I think Ribery's far more iconic than Hummels, and was a better player than Hummels at his peak. Ribery's definitely over R9. He's over Puyol. He's over Del Piero. He's over Raul. You could argue Ribery at his best was one of the best players in the world. You could argue that. When Bayern did the treble, Ribery and Robben both that season were just a different level. Ribery was so direct, creative as well, so technical on the ball. Good striker of the ball as well. I think Ribery above Kane. I'll have Ribery above Harry Kane. I'll have him above Kroos. I think he clears all these. Ribery at his best. Ribery or Antoine Griezmann? Ooh, that's tough. Griezmann was so crucial for France and for Atletico Madrid. Ribery was amazing though. Obviously it starts a bit early with Ribery. Kind of mid-2000s period at Galatasaray, Marseille. French national team, 2006 World Cup really was Ribery's kind of announcement to the world stage. He was brilliant in that tournament. He was only young. He was like, 22 maybe? So he was only young in that tournament and he was brilliant. You're looking past that. He's moved to Bayern. Obviously the ribbon and robbery combination. Ribbon and robbery. Ribbon, I can't even say that's ribbon. I didn't know what they should have been called that. Right, the duo of robbery, which is Iron Robben and Frank Ribery. Talk about iconic partnerships in football. That wide partnership, the way they're understanding together, how one would go, one would come back, the one would cut inside, the other would go out wide. Like their combination, their understanding together was incredible. I think I'm going to have Ribery just over Griezmann. He's over Courtois. He's over David Villa. He's over Chiellini. He's over Casillas. He's over Bonucci. He's over Makelele, to be fair. Him and Ramos, I'd have him over Ramos. Ribery over Cannavaro is tricky. I think Ribery spent more time at the top of the game. It's tough. I definitely think Ribery's around this category. I don't think he eclipses Lewandowski. I don't think he eclipses Lampard or PK. He might eclipse Cafu, maybe. He might go past Cafu, but then I don't think he's better than Kaká. So Drogba, no. David Silva, no. Kante, no. It's very high icon. I think Cafu might come down, to be honest, because in that tier 2 category we've already got Philipp Lahm, and Cafu probably didn't have the longevity of a lot of other players in this list. By 2006, he was done, really. 2007, Massimo Odo kind of took his place in the Milan team. I think Cafu might come down, actually. As great as Cafu was, and definitely for a period of time in this era, he was one of the best right-backs in the world. But having Cafu over players like Kaká, Drogba, that doesn't look right to me. I think Cafu's under Cannavaro, I think. But he's over Ramos, maybe. I'm going to leave Cafu there, and Ribery can stay there for now. just in between Kante and Aguero. I think Ribery can stay there for a bit. Like I said, eventually this will all be finalised and we will fit everyone into the correct positions. But just going off instinct and thought, I want to put him there, so he'll be there for a bit. But it might change later on. Ricardo Carvalho. You want to talk about a player hitting a peak? Ricardo Carvalho, for those few years at Chelsea and between Porto and Chelsea, Ricardo Carvalho is one of the best centre-backs I've ever seen. He's one of the best centre-backs ever in the Premier League, Ricardo Carvalho. And then that's not including his time at Real Madrid as well. He went to Madrid for those few years under Mourinho. And Carvalho was incredible there as well. Really helped to stabilise that team. Played really well with Pepe. Carvalho, I feel like, is quite high on this list. I think centre-back wise, I'm having Ricardo Carvalho over Sergio Ramos. I know that for a fact. He's definitely better than Ramos. So let's just. He's over Sol Campbell for this era for sure. He's over Mascherano. He's over Ashley Cole. Carvalho was an elite centre-back. I think between 2004, maybe 2003. So we'd say in 2003 through till 2012, 11, 12 maybe. Ricardo Carvalho was an elite centre-back. Carvalho was incredible at Porto and Chelsea. That was really his peak. I think his best years were like 2003 till 2006, 7. That was like one of the best peaks of a centre-back I've ever seen. That first season at Chelsea, he was one of the best players. He was better than John Terry that season, for sure. He was better than Terry. I know Terry's the captain and probably got a bit more plaudits from the media, but from watching games, I was amazed from what I was seeing from Ricardo Carvalho that season. He was incredible. It was almost impossible to get past. So athletic, so quick, so amazing on the ball. Could bring the ball out. He was brilliant, Carvalho. See, I think his impact isn't as big as Ramos. Even though as a centre-back, I think he's better than Ramos. But Ramos was such a great right back and the big moments and things. I think that might even it a little bit out there for Ramos. Puyol and Carvalho is tough. Carvalho, is he over R9? Is he over R9 for this period? I don't think so, actually. I don't think so. It's so tough. I don't think I'm going to have him over Puyol. I don't think... I think for a period of time, Carvalho is one of the best centre-backs I've ever seen. But maybe Puyol kept a higher level more consistently, where Carvalho kind of dipped a little bit and come back up, and then he'd come out the team and be replaced by like Alex, and like he'd kind of switch in and out the team, and Ivanovic for a period of time as well during the late 2010s. I think Carvalho, that never really happened with Puyol. So I think Carvalho, I'm going to have him just above Lucio. I think Carvalho's peak was higher than Lucio's. So I'm going to have Carvalho definitely above Lucio, but I think he's just underneath R9 and Puyol. I think I'm happy with that. So Carvalho is in tier 3, definitely one of the best centre-backs from the Premier League era in the modern era. Carvalho is definitely up there. I think the only Premier League centre-backs higher than Ricardo Carvalho, he's better than Ferdinand, he's better than Sol Campbell at his peak. I think it's literally just Terry, I think, so far. So it's kind of poetic, unless you want to include Gerard Piqué for his Man United run, but I'm definitely not including that. Juan Roman Riquelme. Riquelme was such a fantastic number 10. Very much a throwback number 10. When he was younger, he had all these comparisons with Maradona. I think that was more due to his look and his dribbling style rather than obviously his actual overall ability, because I think Maradona was definitely better. Riquelme's real strength were his set pieces, his dead ball quality, his playmaking ability, his dribbling. He was really good, Riquelme. Didn't really work out for him at Barcelona, but was, brilliant for Villarreal for a few years there. Boca Juniors as well, when he went back to Boca. I think Riquelme, unfortunately, it's not at the elite level of football for me, even though he's so good. I think he's kind of sniffing around the James Rodriguez area. I don't think he was ever as good as James, though. I think James in that 2014 World Cup reached a level above anything Riquelme ever achieved in this era. So I'm looking at bottom of great, higher part of good. I think he's above Podolski and Giroud. He's above Dida. Is he above Berbatov? So different because one's a traditional 10 and the other's a striker. But both very technical, obviously. Both very technically gifted. Riquelme, I think he's above Berbatov and above Abidal, but I'm not going to have him above Gattuso. I think obviously technically he's a better player than Gennaro Gattuso, but I think Gattuso's importance to Milan at a higher level of football is overshadowing Riquelme's importance to Villarreal at a lower level for the same kind of period of time. And to Boca, obviously, it's South American football at that point is nowhere near the quality of European football, so I can't really compare the two. So for me, Riquelme was definitely better than these. I think narrowly above Abidal. Career-wise, I think Abidal probably achieved more than Riquelme, but Riquelme has way more in his locker than Abidal. But Berbatov, that's a bit closer, but I've just had Riquelme above him. Next up, Rivaldo. I think Rivaldo doesn't really get into this conversation at all, really. Rivaldo, he's like 1 year at AC Milan. I get the 2002 World Cup, he was brilliant at, I'm not going to deny that. But in a similar vein to someone like R9, post-2002 World Cup, he's not the same player. Really disappointed at AC Milan, Rivaldo. He just didn't perform for AC Milan at all. Obviously, Rivaldo a few years before, he's one of the best players in the world at Barcelona, and he won the Ballon d'Or in '99. Rivaldo in 2002 onwards, post 2002 World Cup, Rivaldo is pretty much non-existent really as far as impact. Obviously, he still had moments. He had a nice little spell in Greece with Olympiacos. Did all right there for a short period of time, but then it's kind of a journeyman career scattered across loads of different countries around the world. Long career, obviously. He's playing well into his 40s, but the level that we're talking about here is it's not even comparable. So I think for the World Cup 2002 alone gets him out of tier 10, but I think just above Kluivert maybe, but not above Davids. Davids was playing in the Premier League when Rivaldo was playing in Greece. It's not even comparable. If we're talking pre-2002, Rivaldo is higher, and I think overall impacting the game, Rivaldo I think is a little bit forgotten about in modern day. I think because he kind of fell in this gap between a prime R9 and a prime Ronaldinho. He kind of falls a little bit short between those two players. 2002 World Cup Rivaldo was brilliant and definitely left an impact. Obviously scored against England as well, so that I'm going to remember that. That sticks out to me. But Rivaldo, again, just post this era, I mean, I could have him. I think, yeah, I'm going to leave him there. I'm going to leave him under Davids for sure. Next up, we have Iron Robin. So we've already done Ribéry, and I've always thought that Robin was better than Ribéry. So I've got to have him above Ribéry. I mean, he's above all these anyway. It's not even a question. Robin is above Ribéry for me, 100%. I think Robin comfortably gets into the legend category. Robin's consistency was crazy. I mean, even when he was a youngster at PSV, he was an animal, absolute animal at PSV. Obviously goes to Chelsea, has a big impact at Chelsea. Despite loads of injuries that he had in those first 2-3 years when he was at Chelsea, loads of injuries. But whenever Robin played, he was incredible. One of Chelsea's best players in arguably their best period in their history. He left Chelsea, went to Real Madrid. Didn't really work out at Real Madrid, like so many other amazing players. Didn't work out. Left after 1 or 2 seasons there. Big exodus of players. They bring in Ronaldo and Kaká and all these. Robin then gets shifted to Bayern Munich, and that's when Iron Robin turns into a true legend of the game. Reached the Champions League final, I think, in his first season at the club, and scored against Man United. That amazing volley against Man United in the quarters. Brilliant goal. Keeps going on, strength to strength. Obviously amazing at the 2010 World Cup, Iron Robben. Amazing impact there. 2014 World Cup, he was brilliant as well. The treble season with Bayern, he was incredible that season. Scored in the final as well, in the Champions League final. So big game player. One of the most predictable players in the history of football, Iron Robben. You knew exactly what he was going to do. He's going to play wide on that right-hand side, cut it on his left and whip the ball into the far corner. But you couldn't stop him. He's the most predictable player probably I've ever seen, attack-wise. He's the most predictable attacker I've ever seen in football. But he's impossible to stop when he's at his best, which says a lot, really, about Robben. I think Robben, multiple-time Premier League winner. He might have won a La Liga, maybe, with Barcelona. He might have done, I'm not sure. Maybe. I can't remember. But I know, obviously, he's won multiple league titles with Bayern Munich, Champions League. Did very well for the Dutch as well. I think Robben's above Piqué. Robben's above Lampard. He's above Lewandowski. Robben or Di Maria? Oh, Robben or Di Maria. I'd say Di Maria was more versatile, maybe. Robben's only dip in his career was his stint at Real Madrid. And Di Maria's real only true dip in his career was Man United. Which dip was worse was Di Maria. So, it's so tough. Di Maria in the big games was massive, though. So was Robben. To be fair. He was a big game player for Chelsea and for Bayern. I don't think I'll have Robben above Bale. I think Robben, season to season, was more consistent than Bale. I don't think he was better than Gareth Bale. I don't think he was better than Neymar at Neymar's peak. I think Neymar's peak was better. And I don't think Robben's longevity outweighs Neymar's ability in this. For this, I don't think it does. Zlatan, I think, no, I still think Zlatan's had a bigger impact, more consistent. I reached such a high level of the game. Robben is... Oh, Robben... Robben is just above Lewandowski. It's tough, obviously, it's very tough. But Robben, I'd say, is just over Robert Lewandowski for me. Is he above Di Maria? Robben was so unstoppable at his peak. The one thing that's going round in my head is that Di Maria scored in a World Cup final and Robben missed a one-on-one chance in extra time to win his country the World Cup. That's burning in my mind. Is that save from Casillas from Robben is burning into my mind. And when Di Maria was given that, he scored. Fine margins, like really fine margins. I think really this comes down to who did I enjoy watching more, who did I prefer watching more, who I think brought more to their team. I'm going to have Robben just above Di Maria. It's so tough. It's, like I said, fine margins, really fine margins. Next up on the list, Roberto Carlos. Roberto Carlos is definitely one of the best left-backs of all time. He's above Evra, for sure. He's definitely above Evra for me. Roberto Carlos, I'd say up until 2007. 2008 at a push. That's where he could. It's very similar to Cafu, really. Maybe a little bit longer than Cafu. Roberto Carlos went to play in Russia for Anzhi Makachkala with Eto'o as well. Oh, this is tough. Ashley Cole obviously had a far longer period of time in this era, but was Ashley Cole ever the left back in this period that Roberto Carlos was? I don't think so. I don't think he was. He's above Ashley Cole and Alba. I think he's above Jordi Alba because I think technically he was a far better footballer than Jordi Alba. I think he could attack, if not as good as, I'd say better than Jordi Alba. He had more to his game. Defensively, people always talk about Roberto Carlos' ability going forward. I feel like no one ever talks about Roberto Carlos' ability as a defender. I think still one-on-one, I still say one-on-one, Ashley Cole is the second greatest left-back I've ever seen. Second to only Maldini. But I think Roberto Carlos is a very, very close third, I think. One-on-one, Roberto Carlos was so hard to get past. His physicality, his strength, his pace. Like, Roberto Carlos was literally an engine on that left-hand side for Real Madrid. And you've got to think at this time, Real Madrid weren't really playing with much width. They were quite a narrow team, trying to fit Beckham and Zidane and Figo and Gravison and Guti and all these players into the same team. They were quite narrow. And Roberto Carlos had it so... He literally ran an entire left-hand side of the pitch. Similar to Marcelo in a way, but I think technically he's better than Ashley Cole, although they're not even on the same planet as far as technical ability, what they can do with the ball, their skill with the ball. Like Roberto Carlos, I've seen Roberto Carlos multiple times just like chip the ball up and volley the ball and cross it from one end to the pitch to the other. Like, the guy's a maverick on the ball with all the physicality and strength and defensive prowess and attacking quality needed for a true modern fullback. Right, he's above Ashley Cole, so he's definitely above Ashley Cole. I think he's above Cafu, Roberto Carlos. I really do. I genuinely think he's above Cafu. I know that's going to be controversial for some people, but I genuinely think Roberto Carlos for 4 or 5 years was the best left back in the world, arguably. Maybe second only to Maldini. I think Maldini defensively is just so above and beyond every other centre back that every other left back. And obviously going forward, he was so potent as well. Even though obviously that AC Milan team were very much a defensive unit first, attacking second. But for his impact on that team, and obviously the centre-back thing as well, he's played elite level at centre-back and left-back. Maldini is above Roberto Carlos. Roberto Carlos is above Cafu, yes he is. He's above Ramos for sure. I think Roberto Carlos... World Cup winner, Champions League winner, La Liga winner. I think he's had more impact than Cafu in this period. I really do. I'm debating it in my head because I think Cafu was just like an engine on that right-hand side. I mean, the fact that at one point Brazil had Roberto Carlos and Cafu in the same team is just ridiculous. Is that not the greatest full-back partnership in the history of football? Like, I can't think of another full-back partnership that tops that, in my opinion. Alves and Abidal. It's better than Alves and Alba. It's better than, I don't know, Cole and Ivanovic, I guess, if you wanted to say that. It's better than Neville and Evra. Like, it's better than Robertson and Trent. I genuinely think that's the greatest full-back partnership in the modern history of the game, from what I've seen. The question is then, is Roberto Carlos over players like Cannavaro? I think so, actually. Yeah, I do. I think he's over Cannavaro. The question is Roberto Carlos above Lahm? I think Lahm's over Roberto Carlos, I think he is. I think Lahm's versatility to play midfield at a high level of the game and be incredible at that in that role, I think adds a different dimension to how I look at Lahm above someone like Roberto Carlos. He's not above Kaká. I don't think he's above Kaká. I think the fact that this is 2002 onwards specific, you're missing out the 98 World Cup, you're missing out his time at Inter Milan, those early years at Real Madrid, you're missing out a lot of that. The Champions League wins for Real, 3 Champions Leagues. For this specific era, I think I might just leave Roberto Carlos there. I'm going to leave Roberto Carlos just above Cannavaro, I think. I was going to put him as a legend. I think Marcelo needs to come down, I think. Having 2 left-backs in the GOAT tier just doesn't sit right for me. So Marcelo is below Benzema, he's below Pirlo, he's below Eto'o. Bale is below Bale. Below Neymar. It's tough because he's a left back, so I don't want to be too unfair, but Marcelo or Lahm at their peak. Marcelo above Lahm, I think. Marcelo above Modrić, yes, I think so. Marcelo above Buffon, yes. Marcelo above Zlatan, yes. Marcelo above De Bruyne and Muller. I can't. I'm going to leave Marcelo there. I'm going to see Marcelo just under Neymar, which means then Roberto Carlos, not too far away from Lam, or I'm happy with that. I think that looks better. Now Marcelo's come down. That disparity was way too big between Marcelo and Roberto Carlos. That was way too big, even though Marcelo is better than Roberto Carlos in this period of time. That disparity was too big. So now I've drawn it down a little bit. That looks better to me. So I'm happy with that. Ronaldinho. This might be the toughest one to rank. I had a debate with one of my subscribers about Ronaldinho, and he put him in second. He said he should be second above Cristiano Ronaldo. And his argument was the peak of Ronaldinho at his best is better than Cristiano Ronaldo. But then that's not taking into consideration longevity, career achievements. I think the way Ronaldo was able to adapt his game through injuries and add more to his game. Ronaldinho was the best player in the world for like 3 years. There's not many players on this list that can really say that, in my opinion. Only Messi and Ronaldo can really, really comfortably say they were the best player in the world for 3 years. I think Ronaldinho between 2004 to 2007 was the best player in the world. After that, it was a different story. I think Cristiano Ronaldo's rise at Man United really started to comfortably overtake him. I think Kaká obviously had that season where he won the Ballon d'Or. I think Ronaldinho, obviously that's not including Messi as well. By 2006, Ronaldinho was already starting to decline. That's a fact. So we're looking at like a 4-year window max for Ronaldinho being the best player in the world. Maybe 3 to 4 years of being the best player in the world is still really impressive. Oh, God. Okay. Ronaldinho has the same issue as someone like Neymar, where at their best, they are one of the best players in the world. I think Ronaldinho's peak is higher than Neymar. I do agree. I do think that. I think his peak was longer than Neymar. I think he achieved more than Neymar did in that period of time. I think he was better than Neymar. He had more to his game than Neymar. So Ronaldinho's above Neymar. He's above Lampard, Lewandowski, Di Maria. He's above all those. I think his dominance over a 3-4 year period of football is so iconic in this era, and I think his influence as well on players that came after him is so, including Neymar himself and Messi as well. It's so strong. His impact on the modern game, Ronaldinho, is so strong. So is R9, but R9's impact was before 2002. Ronaldinho's impact is post 2002. That's when he hit his peak. That's when he was playing his best football. Ronaldinho at Barcelona, you could argue he single-handedly changed the fortunes of Barcelona. I do eventually want to make a documentary around Rijkaard's era at Barcelona, because I find it so fascinating and so kind of underrated because of what came after with Pep. But Ronaldinho was at the heart of that. His signing changed Barcelona. It made them reignite their identity, reignite their style of football, bring that flair and excitement back to the club that had been missing since the late 90s. Ronaldinho was such a turnaround moment in football for Barcelona, and he really is one of the players that set the groundwork for what came even a decade later. I think Ronaldinho's influence is higher than Bale. I think when Eto'o and Ronaldinho were on the same team, Ronaldinho was the best player. So I know Eto'o went on to achieve the treble at Inter while Ronaldinho's career was fading out at AC Milan. He was still good at AC Milan. Like, he wasn't awful at AC Milan. It's not like he went to AC Milan and was, what R9 was at AC Milan, for example. It's like, that's not comparable. Ronaldinho's in the GOAT tier, man. He's in the GOAT tier. He's got to be in the GOAT tier. The guy was the best player in the world for like 3-4 years. And I think a point that one of my subscribers made when I was having that debate with him was longevity really only became a thing with Ronaldo and Messi. When Ronaldo and Messi came along, I feel like in all fairness they changed the game and made longevity so important because they were doing it for 10, 15 years. Really, they're so abnormal. Like, there's only a selection of players that played at the elite level for the majority of their career, like Messi, Ronaldo, Maldini, Nesta, John Terry. I guess you could throw in there. He was on top for a decade. Manuel Neuer, Busquets. Like, there's not many, and Ronaldinho came before most of those players, at least half of them, and like I said, for 3-4 years, his peak was just scary. I mean, the things he used to do with a football, I've never seen anyone do even since. Like, the guy was passing the ball with his back. He was doing no-look passes like they were regular, normal, short passes. The way he'd, like, scoop the ball up and just flick it over people's heads and embarrass them. Ronaldinho, when he was dedicated, when he was focused, when he was fit, when he was in shape, when he was dedicated to football and not dedicated to partying and women and all this, all these other things outside of football. When Ronaldinho was, say, 2005, 2006 Ronaldinho, he's untouchable. Like, he was untouchable that year. I know the Champions League final he wasn't great in. I know in the World Cup he wasn't amazing in. That's fair enough. If you talk about every other game, that's it. I mean, Ronaldinho's numbers as well. It's not just like Ronaldinho is just a maverick or like a JJ Okocha, like someone who just had that bit of magic and entertained. He wasn't just an entertainer. He had end product as well. Like, he's one of the first players that I can remember in football that combined, along with players like Henry and that, but a player like that could combine an unbelievable amount of flair and excitement with actual end product. And he was one of those players. So I think Ronaldinho is above Busquets for me. I think Ronaldinho is above Terry. He's above Neuer. He's above Thierry Henry. I mean, they both peaked in the same era, and I think Ronaldinho was ahead of Henry personally. So I think Ronaldinho's better than Thierry Henry. Ronaldinho's better than Alves. He's better than Maldini in this era. So the question is Ronaldinho above Iniesta? Iniesta was never the best player in the world, but he's playing in an era with Messi and Ronaldo. So I really can't. If we just ignore Messi and Ronaldo for the rest of this video, it'd probably be a good idea because there's no point comparing them with anyone else. They're on their own tier, really. So I think you're looking really Ronaldinho against Iniesta. Both played a similar role in the team, really, at their peak. Playing off the left, coming inside, kind of drifting, playmaking, dribbling, trying to create goals, trying to score. Ronaldinho was more attack-minded than Iniesta. He was more a match winner than Iniesta, where Iniesta would play a bit deeper. Both got a World Cup in this era. Ronaldinho got the Copa America. 2002 World Cup, he was amazing. Destroyed England. Embarrassed England. Ronaldinho. I mean, I haven't even mentioned the game against Santos, the Neymar game, when they won 4-3. It was billed as Ronaldinho versus Neymar, and Ronaldinho came out on top that day. That was kind of like Neymar's real big introduction to world football. And Neymar obviously got that iconic goal, but Ronaldinho scored a few goals that game as well. Even though this was Ronaldinho in his party mode, in his not that dedicated to football mode, and he was still the best player on the pitch. I mean, I don't think he ever went as far as someone like R9 did, as far as fall off or Adriano, for example. But Iniesta never fell off like Ronaldinho. Both of them played at the elite level. Both were Barca legends. I think at their best, on their best day, I'm taking Ronaldinho above most players in history. But I think Iniesta's importance to even Rijkaard's Barca. Like, people think of Iniesta as like a Pep player. It was Rijkaard that brought through Iniesta when he was a young player in that team. And Iniesta's influence on that Barca team is massive. Like, Davids went out and a few other players left. Iniesta was slowly brought into the team around that Messi period, a little bit before Messi, but brought into the team.
playing in central midfield, playing with players like Thiago Motta, Red Milson and Xavi, of course. And he developed so well under Rijkaard that in the 2006 Champions League final, him and Larsson changed the game. And they're not winning that Champions League without Iniesta. Iniesta came off the bench at half-time and changed the game for Barcelona. They were dominating the ball better. They were creating chances more. Iniesta's passing ability, his through balls, his vision. That ball he played for Larsson. I really don't know where to rank them. Ronaldinho or Iniesta. I don't know. I don't know. I think Ronaldinho did have more to his game than Iniesta. But Iniesta's consistency over 12 years, like, the guy's a freak, man. Iniesta's a freak for longevity. And it's not just longevity at the middle part of... this is longevity at the elite level of football. From 2006 through till 2018. Like, it's ridiculous. Iniesta's level is so crazy. Okay, I've got to make a decision, and I'm going to put Ronaldinho ahead of Iniesta. I think Ronaldinho was so influential, was so important in this era, and his impact on Barcelona is just, it's undeniable. His impact on football, I think more people fell in love with football because of Ronaldinho than they did Iniesta, and not to say that's the be-all end-all of making it in the top echelon of this list. But Ronaldinho's impact on football is ridiculous. Like, I can't have Ronaldinho there. I can't have him next to Messi. Or I can't have him above Ronaldo, sorry. I can't. Ronaldinho 05-06, that season alone, I think, can stand against anybody. But again, it's the big games, it's the finals, it's the World Cup in 06 that really did knock him back a little bit. Ronaldinho at his peak, he's the most jaw-dropping footballer. I think that's the best way I can describe Ronaldinho. He's the most jaw-dropping footballer I've ever seen. No one's made me just baffled by what I'm watching more than Ronaldinho. I've never seen a player just take over a game and dominate and influence and embarrass players like Ronaldinho used to do. It's not all about goals and assists, even though Ronaldinho did get a lot of goals and assists. I'm not going to deny that. And maybe Neymar specific seasons might have better stats than Ronaldinho. That's fair enough. But Ronaldinho, for me, he was elite. He really was elite. I think if we're taking Messi and Ronaldo out of this, I think Ronaldinho is the greatest footballer of this generation. In my generation of football, I think Ronaldinho's the best. I really do. I think peak-wise, I think he was the best footballer in the world for almost half a decade. There's not many other players that can say that. And his level was so high that even when he did drop off, and he wasn't the same player he was in 04, 05, 06, even when he got to 08, when he went to, when he was at AC Milan and, that game against Inter when he scored that ridiculous goal. Like, the guy's incredible, man. He was incredible. And then he had a bit of a comeback, didn't he, at Flamengo and Atletico Mineiro, won the Copa as well, won the Copa Libertadores with Atletico Mineiro, with Joe and Bernard. That front line for Atletico Mineiro was incredible that season. He made his way back into the Brazil team as well, the game against England with Neymar. Like, the guy still had incredible moments past his peak, unlike someone like R9 or Adriano or Deco or Michael Owen or some of these other players that dropped off and then were pretty average. Ronaldinho was still making a massive impact even past his peak. So Ronaldinho, for me, just about getting over Iniesta. Like, it's so close. But he just gets in over Iniesta, Ronaldinho. So after that, he's don't get easy, does he? Wayne Rooney, man. Wayne Rooney's the greatest English footballer of all time. this is something that's been banging around in my head for so long. Wayne Rooney between 2004 to 2010. Wayne Rooney was... I've seen people before like call him the Mike Tyson of football, and I completely understand it. The guy was, for 6-7 years, Wayne Rooney was arguably, like, he was up there, Rooney. I would never say Rooney was ever the best player in the world. I don't think he was. I don't think at any point in his career Rooney was ever the best player in the world or the best striker in the world. But consistently for almost a decade, Rooney was always in the conversation as being one of the best. And I think Rooney had so much more than just being a striker, being a forward. Defensively, pressing-wise, his team game, his ability on the ball, which I do think is a little overrated. I think people act like Rooney had the, passing ability of even Scholes or someone like that, Xavi or players like that. Rooney was not that technical on the ball. Like, I think Rooney post 2012, 2013, Rooney was just not the same player. I mean, Rooney post 2010 really. 2010 World Cup onwards, Wayne Rooney's not the same player. He's not. That injury in the 09-10 season, and Fergie pushing him to keep on playing through injury, changed Wayne Rooney's play style so much that it took a lot from his game. I think he was not the same physically, he didn't have the same stamina or fitness, which was always kind of a thing with Rooney's career. I don't think he had the dedication that someone like... I think if Rooney had Cristiano Ronaldo's dedication and commitment to fitness and keeping yourself in shape, Rooney could have eclipsed Ronaldo, in my opinion, because Rooney offers so much. Rooney, when he was playing with Ronaldo and Tevez, I mean, talk about amazing front threes in football. That's up there. Rooney, Tevez and Ronaldo. It's a Champions League winning front three as well. Incredible movement, pace, defensive pressure and pressing from the front, teamwork, creativity, goals. I mean, they had everything. And Rooney maybe suffers a little bit because of how unselfish he was. He was very much a team player. He'd play left wing, he'd play as a number 10, he'd play as a striker, even though he never really enjoyed playing as a lone striker, even though numbers-wise, that's probably when he had the best numbers of his career, was when he was playing through the middle. But Rooney had so much more to his game. I think if Rooney was maybe a little bit more selfish, maybe it could have helped him in different areas, but then he would have took away from other areas of his game. So Rooney, for me, is the greatest English footballer of his generation. Obviously, I can't compare him to someone like a Peter Beardsley or a Gascoigne or a Jeff Hurst, a Bobby Moore, a Kevin Keegan. I can't compare him to these players because I haven't really seen enough of them play. But Rooney, between 2004 to 2010... virtually unstoppable. Wayne Rooney. So entertaining to watch. His strength, his combination of strength, speed, agility, creativity, lethal goal scoring ability, physicality, defensive work. Rooney had so much to his game. Like, you talk about a complete striker, like a Zlatan, maybe in a different way. Rooney was the complete footballer. So Rooney isn't a GOAT. He's not in the GOAT tier. Like I said, I don't think I ever really saw Rooney as ever being the best striker in the world at any point in his career. Obviously, I'm not really going to start talking about Rooney when he got older and he started playing in midfield and he was playing out of position under Roy Hodgson at England and Van Gaal at Man United. He started playing as a centre midfielder. Like, I'm not even going to get into that with Wayne Rooney because it's such a pointless debate, in my opinion. That's not Wayne Rooney. Wayne Rooney was this second striker, number 10, centre forward, who could do anything you needed him to. His versatility, goals, he had every aspect of his game that was good to elite, and that's very rare, especially for an English player. Like, we usually have not one-trick ponies necessarily, but Crouch was amazing in the air, not that great physically as far as speed and technique. Defoe was really quick. Owen was really quick. but they didn't really have much more to the game. Heskey was a great hold-up player, very physical, but one-on-one, his goal scoring not really up to par. Rooney could do everything. Rooney could hold the ball up, he could lay it off, he could shoot from range, he could score tap-ins, he could score headers, he could press the defence, he could press the full-backs, he can come and trap back and press, tackle the wingers, he can spray a ball from one end of the pitch to the other. Like, what can't Rooney do in his peak? So, Rooney for me, obviously, like I said, he's above Lampard, above Lewandowski. I think at one point Lewandowski's the best striker in the world, where Rooney wasn't. But Rooney had so much more to his game than Robert Lewandowski. So I'm going to have Rooney above Lewandowski for me. I think Rooney had so much more to his game. And was bigger in the bigger I think he was better in the big games as well. Where Lewandowski, sometimes in the big games, will go missing. Rooney's above Di Maria. Rooney's above Robin. He's above Lahm. He's above Modrić for me. He's above Buffon. He's not above Zlatan. Rooney's not above Zlatan Ibrahimovic. He's not. No. Zlatan's definitely above Wayne Rooney. So Rooney for me, I think sits comfortably there. I think. Obviously, Rooney still achieved a lot past his peak. Like he still won Premier League. The combination he had with Robin van Persie was incredible. He had 11-12 where he scored like 27 goals or something. But he was not. If you just watched Wayne Rooney that season, he was not the same player. He just wasn't. You know, he won the Europa League with Man United. He, got to scored in the Champions League final in 2011. So he still had moments past his peak. But peak Wayne Rooney between 2004 as a young 18-year-old, Euro 2004, took over that tournament, was arguably the best player in the tournament, through till 2010. With the exception of a few injuries here and there, kind of missing some of the big games for England as far as tournaments go. World Cup 2006, obviously. His absence during 2008 really affected 2007 really affected the Euro 2008 qualifying campaign. So, I think Rooney for me is just underneath Zlatan Ibrahimovic, but above Buffon and Modrić, I think, maybe. I'm going to leave him there for now. Yeah, I'm going to leave him there for now, Wayne Rooney, and we'll see where the others land. Okay, next up on the list we have a Portuguese legend, a legend of Serie A, and that is Rui Costa. This is Rui Costa at AC Milan, I think. I don't think he played for Fiorentina during this period. As far as I can remember, this is Rui Costa approaching 30, over 30 at AC Milan, where in his first season he was very important. Second season, again, still very important. But as the time went, his influence in the team, his appearances in the team started to really rapidly decrease as Kaká started to become a more prominent member of the Milan first team. So Rui Costa really doesn't have much impact at all, I don't think. I think for 90s fans, like fans of 90s Italian football or maybe early 2000s Italian football, I think Rui Costa's impact is really prominent. 2002 onwards, Rui Costa's impact is very, very minimal. Even though obviously he still showed signs of his class and his talent and his ability, I think overall his impact during this period is quite low. Obviously he's still an incredibly talented footballer, so I'm going to have him. He doesn't come close to Gattuso. Gattuso's importance is way more than Rui Costa. Rui Costa was good. He was fine. Dida was definitely a higher level than Rui Costa during this period. I think I'd have Rui Costa just under Michael Owen, I think. Like, Kaká got into that first team, really, Rui Costa's impact really started to decrease. He got older, obviously. And like I said, this isn't him at his peak at all. This is him near the end of his career. So for me, Rui Costa, I think I'll probably just have him there, just above Rivaldo. Next up on the list is Mohamed Salah. Now, Mohamed Salah, ability-wise, like individual footballing talent, he definitely can't talk to some of the players on this list. But if we're talking output, if we're talking impact, if we're talking consistency, there's not many players that can really compete with Mo Salah. From his first season at Liverpool, which I think was 2017 maybe, That was his first season, 2017-18. From then on, the guy's just been a record breaker, playing out on the right, cutting inside, mainly sometimes playing as a striker, really. Functional wise, he's pretty much a striker, scoring so many goals, 30 plus goals a season, pretty much for almost a decade. A couple of Champions League finals thrown in there as well. Goal in the Champions League final against Tottenham. Salah's been massive for Liverpool. Massive. I mean, don't forget he's playing near where the Premier League is the best league in the world, and he's at points been the best player in the best league in the world. So I think that has to count for a lot, and I think Salah definitely eclipses all these. There's no debate for me. Salah's just consistency and output has been phenomenal. So it's going to be tough to rank him. He's definitely a legend. 100% he's a legend. He's above all of these, including David Silva, including Kaká, including Drogba. Season to season, consistency, quality, just the goals, the assists, the quality of his play, his speed, his dribbling, his ability on the counter-attack. Mohamed Salah's been lethal for Liverpool. Breaking records, like I said. I think Salah and De Bruyne, they played obviously in the same era, similar age. I would have had De Bruyne over Salah pretty much the entire time, except from obviously last season. But obviously De Bruyne was getting older at that point. He wasn't in his physical peak. I think Salah was not above De Bruyne as a footballer. I don't think he's above Rooney. I think he's near Robin Di Maria level, I think. Salah. I'm going to have Salah. Has he eclipsed Robin and Di Maria? I think he has, I think he's eclipsed Lahm as well. I think Salah gets really high on this list because of his output and his consistency, playing at the top level for, well over a decade now. Is he above Modrić? Maybe not. He's definitely not above Rooney and De Bruyne and Zlatan. I wouldn't have him above them. He's around this area, Salah. It's tough. So tough. Salah, I'm going to have just underneath Modrić, I think. I think Modrić, there's not really much separating them. Obviously, they play two separate positions, so it's kind of hard to, just kind of decipher what makes each one better than the other because they play so differently. Salah's been an iconic Premier League player when the Premier League was the best league in the world, and I can't ignore that. I mean, I could have Salah a bit higher, maybe Salah here around here, maybe, but that doesn't look right to me. I'm gonna have Salah there. I think he's eclipsed Robin and Di Maria. Salah, I think he has at club level. Obviously, I think he has. Internationally, obviously, he plays for Egypt, so he's not going to have the opportunity to win the kind of trophies that Robin and Di Maria, well, the kind of opportunities to get to the chance to reach a final or a semi-final of a World Cup like Di Maria and Robin have done. Yeah, I think Salah sits there for me, just underneath Modrić. Right, next up is Alexis Sanchez. Now, I mentioned Alexis Sanchez. It might have been in part one, I think, with Di Natale. That partnership at Udinese was incredible. Sanchez is definitely above these. Sanchez at Udinese, Sanchez at Barcelona or at Arsenal. Man United, obviously, didn't work, but it's Man United. There's only so much I'm going to let go from that, really, because I feel like every player's failed at Man United. Reignited his career at Inter Milan under Conte. He's been brilliant. Went to Marseille and had a brilliant spell there. He's doing really well for Sevilla at the moment in La Liga, even though obviously he's much older now. I feel like Sanchez is definitely eclipsed all these. He's above Aubameyang for me. He's above Rio. He's above all of these, Alexis Sanchez. Alexis Sanchez, at his prime, was one of the best, if not the best winger in the Premier League. One of the best wingers in the world. Output-wise, I think he eclipses Hazard, but I don't think he eclipses Hazard as far as talent. But then Sanchez worked a lot harder. He was more of a team player. Off the ball, Sanchez was elite as well. He's pressing. I don't think I can have Sanchez as an icon if Hazard isn't an icon. I feel like the two quite linked with each other. It's the same era. They kind of competed directly against each other out on that left-hand side. Hazard was more flary, more entertaining. I think Sanchez was more of a match winner, more of a finisher. He played up front a few times for Arsenal as well, even though he was quite short. He played up top. Again, didn't work out for him at Manchester United, but when he went to Manchester United, he was considered one of the best wingers in the world. So, really, from the last season he had at Udinese all the way through to maybe his second to last season at Arsenal, Alexis Sanchez is one of the best wingers of this era. Is he better than Hazard? I think Hazard's a better footballer, but Sanchez has had a better career, in my opinion. Is Sanchez above world class? I think he's achieved more than Falcao and Ballack. Has Hazard got to come up to icon? Having R9 above Eden Hazard in this era makes no sense, in my opinion. It just doesn't. World Cup 2002, excluding that, I don't think R9's ever had a better season than Hazard did in 2018-19, or 14-15, or 16-17. I don't think he ever had a season that compared to Hazard. I think R9 has to drop down, you know. This is crazy to me, but I think he has to drop down. I think R9 has to come down to just under Forlan, maybe. No. Yeah, Forlan won 2 European Golden Shoes in this era. Like, Forlan's above R9 in this era. I'm sorry. Anelka's probably above him in this era. Inzaghi could be. Dzeko. Dzeko's achieved so much more than R9. I'm sorry. I think R9 has to come down all the way down here, you know. I think he does. I think R9 is close to Adriano. I think he was better. He did more than Adriano. He did. He did more than Adriano. I'm going to have him at the bottom of top class because when R9 was firing in this era for a year or two, he was top class. He was not at his peak. He wasn't at his peak. World Cup 2002 excluding that. He wasn't at his peak. He wasn't world class, in my opinion, during this time. And it's such a short window as well. Like Crespo for a little bit of time here was world class. As was Inzaghi, as was individually, they were all world class for maybe a season or two, but consistently no. And I think the same goes for R9 in this era for me. I think R9 might go. I think he goes above Juninho, but he doesn't go above Vincent Kompany for me. R9's there. R9's in tier 6. That's crazy to say, but Anelka's done more in this era than R9. Lukaku's done more than Anelka in this than R9 in this era. So was Crespo, so was Tony, so was Dzeko, so was Inzaghi, so was Forlan. Like Cavani obviously has done way more than R9. Aubameyang, like I think having R9 there is crazy. I think, yeah, that looks ridiculous to me, but I just think post 2002, R9, other than maybe 02, 03, 03, 04, he's not really saying much in my opinion, R9. He dropped off so dramatically and was not the same player, and even though he had the talent, he's still extremely talented and had moments of brilliance, even at Corinthians when he was near the end of his career. He can't compete to a prime Crespo or prime Luca Toni at Bayern, like prime Inzaghi, well, not prime Inzaghi, but Inzaghi performing high levels at AC Milan, same as Anelka at Chelsea. Like R9, any point in this era is not better than Anelka was in 08-09 for Chelsea. He's just not. So for me, R9 goes there, which looks ridiculous, but I'm sticking with it. You know what? That's my hot take. That's my hot take for this video. So where was we? We was on Alexis Sanchez, wasn't we? I think now R9's gone from there. I think Hazard can come up. I think Hazard's going to be low on this, though. I don't think Hazard eclipses players like Lucio and Ricardo Carvalho for me. He might eclipse Alisson. I think he does. I think Alexis Sanchez has to go right next to Hazard. It's just which way. I think for Sanchez's output and his longevity and his ability to adapt his game when he got a bit slower, the resurgence of Alexis Sanchez post Manchester United, what he's been able to achieve, his spell at Marseille, what he's doing right now with Sevilla, I think that puts him over Eden Hazard for me. Sanchez could go above Rakitic, I think. I think there for Alexis Sanchez. I think there. Next up, we have Paul Scholes. Paul Scholes, he's going to go very, very high on this. This is Paul Scholes near the end of his attacking midfielder phase. So 2004 onwards, we're looking Paul Scholes, especially when Roy Keane leaves, he starts to play a lot deeper, tries to be more of a controller of the game in the frame of a Xavi or a Pirlo. And Paul Scholes was one of the best in the world at doing that. I think he's above all of these. He's above Ballack, he's above Deco. Yeah, Paul Scholes above all of these. Is he above Lampard? They're so different at this point in their careers. Scholes was a lot more reserved and more focused on dictating the game, where Lampard was in his prime, scoring ridiculous amount of goals. Both achieved similar achievements. Club-wise, I think Scholes is such a special talent, man. I'd have Scholes above Lampard. I would. I'm having Scholes above Luka Modrić as well. Scholes was amazing, man. Scholes isn't above Rooney. I think Scholes under Buffon, maybe. Scholes and Modrić. I think that's quite close, actually. Scholes and Modrić. I'm going to have Scholes just under Modrić, I think. Yeah, I think so. I think Modrić might define this era more than Scholes. I'm gonna keep him there, yeah. Bastian Schweinsteiger, another one. Had that spell at Man United, but kind of taints his career. But let's not forget Bastian Schweinsteiger in his prime at Bayern Munich. An engine, hard runner, amazing passer of the ball, great vision, great for a goal. That 2006 World Cup, Bastian Schweinsteiger really, really caught my eye as a young fan of football. Watching Bastian Schweinsteiger destroy Portugal was incredible to watch. And then post that as well with the performances for Bayern, the Champions League finals. How amazing he was in midfield. I don't think he's Scholes level, but he's not far away, I don't think. I think Lampard was better than Schweinsteiger. Again, they're very different. Schweinsteiger, for me, would be around here, I think. He's above Fabregas. I'd have Schweinsteiger, prime Schweinsteiger, I'd have above Cesc Fabregas. I would. Would he be over Kante? Possibly not. I'm going to have Schweinsteiger above... Yeah, I'm going to do that, I think. I'm going to have Schweinsteiger there. Schweinsteiger just above Aguero, I think. Just underneath Ribery. I think Kante, if he's talking more midfield, centre midfield, and direct competition, I think Kante did more than Schweinsteiger. I think he's left more of an impact. I think the way he completely transformed that midfield, centre midfield position... Schweinsteiger didn't have the engine that Kante did. He couldn't get up and down like Kante did. Schweinsteiger was probably technically more gifted, but I think Kante's work ethic, his defensive qualities as well. I think Schweinsteiger, because a lot of the time Schweinsteiger was played out right. He was kind of played out wide in his younger years, and then as he got a little bit older, he was more central. When Robben came into the team, he was pulled more centrally under Van Gaal, and he went to a different level, Schweinsteiger, but he was always amazing, even as a wide player. Even though he had, a lack of speed, I think technically he's always been so good. So I would have him around there. He's definitely not above Kaka and Lampard. I wouldn't have him above them. I wouldn't have him in the Scholes-Modrić conversation. I think he's just on the tier underneath that, but I think he comfortably sits just above Aguero for me. Right, next up we have Clarence Seedorf. You talk about a graceful midfield player, a midfielder that was incredibly just beautiful to watch. Clarence Seedorf's one of the most beautiful footballers to watch on a pitch. For his technical prowess, his ability on the ball, his control of the ball. Clarence Seedorf was special. He's definitely an icon. He's above Ballack and Deco. He's comfortably above them. Seedorf above Rakitic, yes, he is. He's above Hazard. He's above Sanchez. He's above Raul. Is he above Harry Kane? I'd have Seedorf over Kroos. I would. I'd have him over all of these. I'd have him over the goalkeepers. Seedorf, people forget how incredible Seedorf was. And he was consistent as well, Seedorf. He was scarily consistent. Even when he was at AC Milan, he was getting a little bit older in the team. He was still one of the most hardest runners that they had. He was still one of the most creative players that they had, even up until his, when he left to join Botafogo. He was still one of their best midfield players, even when he reached an older age. It didn't really affect him because he always kept himself so physically fit. He didn't really have many injuries. And like I said, technically, Seedorf could do pretty much everything. Defensively, maybe not as solid or well-rounded as like a Kante, or I wouldn't have him there, I think, Seedorf. I think for this era, I'd have him around the Fabregas mark, I think. I'd have him around Fabregas. He's over Makelele. It's just, is Seedorf better than Fabregas? I think I'm going to have Seedorf just under Fabregas. I think Seedorf did a lot of work in the 90s as well for Real Madrid, for Inter Milan, for Ajax. If you're primarily looking at his AC Milan run, you got Fabregas when he was a teenager at Arsenal, the spell at Barcelona, the spell at Chelsea. One of Arsenal's best players when he was like 18 years old. 17, 18 years old. He was probably our best midfield player. Says a lot. So I'm just going to have Fabregas just above Seedorf, but there's not much in that really. You can switch them really any day, and I wouldn't really think too much on that. Next up is Andrei Shevchenko, easily the greatest Ukrainian footballer of all time. Ballon d'Or winner, one of the best strikers. When I was growing up, really, 2002 through till 2006, the guy was lethal. Easily one of the best strikers in the world for 4 years. Went to Chelsea, and I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was because he was getting a bit older then. I think he was 30 when he went to Chelsea. Maybe it was a tactical thing. Maybe it didn't work. Him and Drogba together, maybe it just didn't work. Physically, I don't think he was the same. He wasn't as quick, wasn't as sharp, wasn't as deadly in one-on-ones. Even though he had moments for Chelsea, it's not the same. Can't compare it. Went back to Milan, didn't replicate anywhere near the way he did beforehand. So Shevchenko really was past it when he went to Chelsea. But those 4 years before, Shevchenko was elite. He was elite. He was a Ballon d'Or winning elite level striker who was lethal in front of goal. Question is, where do we have Andrei Shevchenko? Because Drogba's impact is longer than Shevchenko. I think Shevchenko's over Raul in this period of time. I think he is. Yeah, he is. I'd have him over Raul. Those early years for me, watching AC Milan, watching Football Italia, watching AC Milan in the Champions League, Shevchenko was incredible. So lethal. Game against Barcelona in, I think it was 2005. He was incredible in that game. The penalty shootout against Juventus as well. Tough game, but he stepped up and scored the winning penalty. Obviously missed the one against Liverpool, but that game's such a freak game in the history of football. I think you can't really compare it to anything else. I'm going to have Shevchenko. I don't think he eclipses Drogba. I don't think he does. I think Drogba's done more work in this era than Shevchenko did. Same as people like David Villa, I think, has done more work. He's not in the legend category for me. I think he just misses out at Shevchenko. He's close. He's close to Aguero, I think. Shevchenko. I think maybe he's not above Aguero, but he's close to maybe a David Villa. Shevchenko above Villa? Yes, I think so. David Villa's above Cafu. David Villa goes there for me. David Villa, yeah. Cannavaro, David Villa, yeah. And then Shevchenko's got to be closer up here. I think he's above Cafu and Ramos. It's just where he goes. It's between Aguero and Villa. It's in that range for me. He's not above Drogba. He's not above David Silva or Kante for me. Not above Ribéry. I think I'm going to put him just over Seedorf. I think. Just over Fabregas. He's over Seedorf. He is. He's over Seedorf and Villa. I think peak Shevchenko is better than Villa. I'm going to have him just under Aguero. It's so close. Very, very close. But Shevchenko was elite. I just think Aguero's got such a bigger body of work than Shevchenko and never really hit a low level in his career. Pre-City, when he was at Atletico Madrid, he was incredible. At Atletico Madrid, him and Forlan, that partnership was insane. Obviously goes to Manchester City, breaks so many records, has such an unbelievable goal to games record. I think he might still hold the record for the most goals to games or goals to minutes ratio or something crazy like that. You know, his all-round play, his hold-up play, his strikes from distance. I think he's above Shevchenko. Shevchenko was elite. I think Shevchenko, his peak was higher than Aguero, so it's tough, but I think Aguero's longevity and his impact was felt more in this era than Shevchenko for me. So Shevchenko's just underneath him, but it's by a whisker, like it's really close. Next up, we have Wesley Sneijder. Sneijder's similar to Milito for me. I think Sneijder was incredible at Ajax, but the competition level in the Eredivisie back then is just not that high. He didn't work out at Real Madrid, that's a fact. Similar to Robben. And similar to Robben, obviously, he left Real Madrid. He went to Inter Milan and had an unbelievable spell at Inter Milan. Especially in those first few years under Mourinho, he was incredible. 09-10, you could argue he was the best midfielder in the world. It was him or Iniesta for me in that year. Maybe Lampard at a push, but I still think 09-10, Sneijder or Iniesta for me. It's so close. But then really after 2010, 2011, Schneider's level started to come down gradually. It wasn't overnight. It wasn't like he was just terrible overnight, Sneijder. But he was never at that elite level again. And then he started to gradually decline. Went to Galatasaray. Linked up with Drogba. Had a few good years in Turkey. But then still, he just wasn't the same player. I think Schneider's peak is so small that it's so tough because I loved watching Wesley Sneijder. I really did. And 09-10, that one season, he probably was the best midfielder in the world. I think Milito was the most important player on the Inter Milan team, but I still think Sneijder was probably the second most important, and he's done more in his career overall than Milito did. The 2010 World Cup, you could argue he was one of the best players in the tournament. Scored so many goals, got a few assists. Obviously, Holland got to the World Cup final and he was instrumental in that. 08 to 2010, 2011, Sneijder was a freak. Such a short window of time, similar to a Deco. I think I might have Sneijder maybe around Deco, I think. I think Schneider's around Deco. Deco was better than Sneijder. Sneijder, no, Mane was above. Mane should be higher, I think. I think Mane goes there. Sneijder goes there. Higuain, I think Casemiro. Higuain. Yeah, I'm happy with that. That looks right to me. Maybe Cavani over Mascherano. Sneijder just underneath Sadio Mane. I think Mane was far more consistent and had a bigger impact during his entire tenure at Liverpool than what Sneijder did with Inter Milan. And obviously Mane's won the AFCON as well with Senegal, which is a massive achievement. He was instrumental in that. So Sneijder not winning the World Cup, a big one for me as well. I think Sneijder on his best day, could be around here maybe. Around Fabregas, possibly up here. But it's just, the volume is just not the same. It's 2 years maybe of Sneijder being truly elite. Maybe 1 year of him being really like one of the best in the world. There's not much more than that really from Sneijder. Maybe Schneider's there, you know. I might have Sneijder there. 09-10 Sneijder was different though, man. 2010 World Cup as well. I think I'm going to have him over Casemiro just. Very, very narrowly, but Sneijder is there. He's definitely he was definitely world class. I don't think he's an icon, but he was definitely world class. Next up is Heung-min Son. I think maybe Son is struggling in this list a little bit because of the fact he didn't. He played pretty much his entire prime at Tottenham, similar to Kane, but obviously Kane's gone on to Bayern Munich and he's doing like generational level work at Bayern Munich, and I can't ignore that. I think Son's above all these. He's above these as well. Son and Royce, I think that seems right to me. Son was incredible. I'm not going to deny. It's like Son was in... I think Son's over Royce, actually. Son's over Mata. Son was a very, very good winger, but the fact he never made that step to the elite level, I think really hurts Son here. We're talking about Anelka who's won Champions League, won Premier Leagues. Son, you know, he's probably the best Asian footballer ever, in my opinion. Where would I put Son? Son's not above any of these on that top row. He's not above any of them. Son, Giggs is better than Son. Nedved's better than Son. Figo's better than Son. Pires is better than Son. Lukaku, no. Everett, no. Pogba, no. Son above Klose, no. I think Son's there, you know. I'm going to have Son there. I'm going to have Son just underneath Anelka. Son and Kane, that combination, probably the best combination ever in the Premier League as far as goals and assists. Son was incredible for Tottenham for close to a decade. But again, I just think the level, unless you take that step up in your career and move to a bigger club to play at a better level, I think, in my opinion, it's hard for me to rank you above players that have done it in Champions League finals, World Cup finals, won Premier Leagues, been an essential part of title-winning teams and cup-winning teams. And Son really was never that. So there's only a certain level I can put Son. So I'm going to leave it there for Son for now. Obviously that could change in the future, but we'll leave him there. Jaap Stam, such a short window of time, but he was elite as a centre-back. I think he's around Sol Campbell for me. I think he was better than Sol. I think he was. He was better than Mascherano for this period of time. But I think Ashley Cole's had a bigger impact than Stam. Jaap Stam pre-2002, that's a completely different conversation. We're talking the treble at Lazio, what he did with Manchester United. He won a treble at Man United and a treble at Lazio. Like, the guy was a freak. Stam in the late 90s, early 2000s is the best centre-back, along with Nesta, I think. Him and Nesta are the two best centre-backs in the world. And obviously they eventually played together at AC Milan, but this is when Stam was already well into his 30s. Went back to Ajax for a little stint as well and then retired. It's really 2002 through till 2006, similar to a Cannavaro, similar to Campbell. It's a very short window. I think Cannavaro was maybe just a little better. Stam's not above Pepe for this era, I don't think. Then again, maybe Stam is, you know. Stam's such a short window for me. It's such a short window with Jaap Stam in this era, again, similar to a Cannavaro, similar to a Sol Campbell. No, I'm going to leave him there, and then I'm going to leave Stam there, I think. I think Jaap Stam... No, Sol was better than Stam in this period. He was. Sol was really in his prime in this period, wasn't he? Stam wasn't. He was well out of his prime, but he was still incredible. Sol's just over Jaap Stam, I think. I think he is. I think Sol's just over Jaap Stam. The question is Rio over Jaap Stam in this period of time? I think Stam played during Rio's prime. And Rio was better than Stam in that prime, I think. He's slowly dropping down this list, isn't he, Jaap Stam? There, I think. Just under Nedved. I'm going to leave it there for now and we'll see. Because that's so tough to rank Jaap Stam. Such a physical defender. So it's big and a monster. Like, you couldn't get past him. So aggressive. Jaap Stam was an animal, man. Absolute animal. Terrifying. Like, we're talking Van Dijk level of prime. That's what you're looking at for Jaap Stam, but it's before this era for Jaap Stam. So I've got to take that into consideration. Next up is... I think that's Dejan Stankovic. Dejan Stankovic, again, part of that amazing Inter Milan team. Stankovic was so technically incredible, man, as a centre mid. Stankovic with Juninho looks right to me. But then again, Stankovic doesn't come over Pogba, I don't think, during this era. Stankovic was really good. Dejan Stankovic was really, really good. A really good central midfielder. Stankovic is over Roy Keane for this period, so he's definitely above this. Maybe he's in the tier 5, you know, Dejan Stankovic. No, Inzaghi's above Stankovic. Dzeko's above him. So is Tony, so is Crespo. I want to move R9 there. R9 there, Stankovic there. Stankovic there, I think. There we go. Next up, Steven Gerrard. I mean, do we really need to talk much about Steven Gerrard. Actually, let's talk a bit about Steven Gerrard. Because Steven Gerrard is widely regarded as one of the greatest midfielders to ever play the game. And I really, really understand people's point with this. Steven Gerrard is past all of these, so let's not even waste time with that. Steven Gerrard is past all these as well. I think Gerrard he's past Kaká, hasn't he? Yeah, he has. He's close to Lampard. Right, with Steven Gerrard, my one criticism, Gerrard is elite at every aspect of football. I'm not going to deny goal scoring, leadership, passing range, tackling. Maybe not. No, his tackling wasn't great. He was very rash, actually, similar to Scholes. His tackling was better than Scholes, but I think Gerrard was so rash in his challenges. I think Lampard was actually a better tackler than Steven Gerrard. I really do. I think he was way more of an intelligent defender than Gerrard was. Gerrard was really aggressive, sometimes overly aggressive, which played against him sometimes. And I think the one issue with Steven Gerrard that I've always had, I always thought sometimes he was holding Liverpool back. Now that might sound ridiculous. That statement in itself is ridiculous because there's so many times where Liverpool probably aren't getting to where they get to in the years that he was there without Steven Gerrard, which I hear and I understand. But let's take one of the most defining games of Steven Gerrard's career, the 2004-5 Champions League final. Starts in centre mid. Obviously, Liverpool start with a 4-4-2 with Alonso and Gerrard in central midfield. AC Milan pass it round them. Gerrard hasn't got the tactical intelligence, I don't think, to be a elite level central midfielder. Now, I think he's an elite number 10. I think he's an elite wide player. I think he's an elite team player. He's an elite leader. But I think as a central midfielder with the job to stay in the centre of the park and dominate the game, that's not Steven Gerrard. It's not Steven Gerrard. Steven Gerrard was at his best, like the Champions League final, when Didi Hamann came on. The team became a bit more defensively structured, a bit more intelligent off the ball, which then allowed Steven Gerrard to get forward and do what Steven Gerrard does best, which is break lines and use his athleticism and his power and his running speed and his aggression to drag the team up the pitch. But he needed to play with players like Alonso or Mascherano or Hamann or even like Momo Sissoko, for example. Like, he needed to play with a player who could be a little bit... Lucas Leiva was another one as well. He had to play with someone who was a bit more tactically intelligent, and that always held Steven Gerrard back, I think personally, from being an elite level central midfield player. Now, if you're talking about Steven Gerrard further up the pitch, as a right mid in 05-06, now amazing he was in that season, arguably the best season of his career. You can talk about Steven Gerrard in 08-09, when he played with Torres, or 07-08, arguably the best seasons of his career. That's when Steven Gerrard was at his best, when he had freedom, when he could take the game by the scruff of the neck and drag a team and inspire a team. I don't think Steven Gerrard was very good at controlling the game of football. Maybe when he got a little bit older, maybe he became better at that, but I still don't think he did it at an elite level. But Steven Gerrard was ridiculous. I think if you're talking about a midfielder, like, he can do a little bit of everything, Steven Gerrard. And I think the one issue, like, I'm not saying, like, compared to most central midfielders, Steven Gerrard is incredible. I'm not going to deny that. Obviously, it'd be a ridiculous statement to make. But I think the one issue I've always had with Steven Gerrard is his ability to tactically adhere to a smarter way of playing football, away from aggressive, passion-led, fast, athletic-based football, which Gerrard really excelled in. Where when Benitez came in and Benitez wanted a bit more structure, a bit more defensive solidity, that's why players like Xabi Alonso and Didi Hamann and Momo Sissoko and Lucas Leiva, Mascherano, all these players, That's why they were so important to bring the best out of Steven Gerrard. And that's always been my thing with Steven Gerrard. Now, with all that being said, does that then negate what Steven Gerrard has done in his career? No, it doesn't. It's just something that I feel holds Gerrard back from being Iniesta, Pirlo, Xavi, Busquets. Like, in that conversation, I still think Scholes is better than Gerrard. I do. I think Scholes is better than Gerrard. I think Lampard's probably more complete. He can do a little bit of everything more comfortably than Gerrard, but maybe some of Gerrard's attributes were better than Lampard. So Gerrard and Lampard, when people try and compare Gerrard, Lampard, Scholes, I think it's the most stupid debate ever, because they're so different. They're all so different. Like, Gerrard at his best was a inspirational, drag you off the ground and use my individual quality and brilliance to uplift everyone around me. He was that kind of player. Lampard was a find space, very tactically intelligent, high IQ, get goals from volleys or tap-ins or rebounds or deflections. Like, his ability to find space in the box, that's what Lampard really excelled at. Plus, a very good passer of the ball as well. That's what he excelled at. And then obviously Scholes is this version of Scholes is a more defensive player and more better on the ball, more of a dictator. So they're three completely different players. And obviously Scholes is the generation before as well. So if we're directly comparing Lampard and Gerrard, I personally always preferred Frank Lampard. It's very close. Like, I mean, it's literally flip of a coin. I just think maybe Lampard was a bit more impactful on the eye, and I think because he was playing with lesser players for, some of the years there at Liverpool. I think the whole thing that Gerrard always played with, like, scrubs and stuff is ridiculous. Like, when that team under Benitez that he had, when he's playing with Torres, when Torres was arguably the best striker in the world, Xabi Alonso, Mascherano, Dirk Kuyt, that team was incredible. And I think to act like that team wasn't great is really disingenuous when we're talking about Steven Gerrard's career. But obviously Frank Lampard, during this era, more consistently played with higher level players. If we're talking about performances for England, I always felt like Gerrard was probably a little bit better than Frank Lampard, especially at a tournament. Tournaments go, I think Gerrard was always better than Lampard. But I always maybe preferred Lampard a little bit more because I found him more interesting to watch off the ball, where Gerrard was far more entertaining to watch on the ball. So they're so different and they're so difficult to compare. Trying to be as objective as possible, trying to take less of a subjective view and trying to be as objective as possible. I think Steven Gerrard is just above Lampard. I think. I mean, it is razor thin, like razor thin. I don't think I'd have Gerrard over... Is Gerrard over Di Maria? No, I don't think so. I don't think he is. I think Di Maria is better than Gerrard. I mean, they're so different again. They're so different. So comparing them is crazy. But I think if Steven Gerrard left Liverpool and played more consistently at a higher level, this is a different conversation, I think. I think the fact that Steven Gerrard reached a respectable level with Liverpool, let's be honest, he won the Champions League, won an FA Cup, with him being very important in both of those games, especially the FA Cup against West Ham. I think his importance in the Champions League final is a bit overestimated, in my opinion. I think Dudek played a big role, Carragher played a big role in that game. Hamann was crucial in that game. They're not winning that game without Didi Hamann. Alonso was important as well, Barosh. There was a lot of players in that team who were really important. It wasn't just Steven Gerrard, but he got the first goal, that iconic image of him walking to the centre of the pitch, raising his arms up. Like, he has these iconic leader moments, these inspirational moments that stick in your head. And his never say die attitude, his passion for the game, passion for Liverpool, would score last minute goals, like the goal against Olympiacos in that same Champions League run is iconic as well. The game against Real Madrid when they bet them 4-0, Gerrard battered them. Maybe he's above Di Maria, The more I think about it, I think he might be above Di Maria. I think this is where it might just end, I think. Yeah, I'm going to leave Gerrard there. Gerrard should have gone, man. He should have gone. He really should have. I know the old story about Mourinho wanted to sign him 3 times. Wanted to sign him for Chelsea, which was very, very close to happening. Wanted to sign him for Inter Milan. Wanted to sign him for Real Madrid. It's the Inter Milan one for me. That Inter Milan one, I mean, if he would have gone to Inter Milan and been a part of that team, maybe they wouldn't have won the treble, though, with Gerrard in the team. As weird as it sounds, I think that team was so structured defensively that Gerrard, I don't think, had that defensive maturity in his game. But maybe under a coach like Mourinho, with Mourinho's success and presence and reputation, maybe Gerrard could have increased that side of his game a little bit more. But it's a lot of what ifs. But I think we're going off what has happened. I think Scholes is still above Gerrard for me. Right, carrying on from this, from Steven Gerrard, let's go into Luis Suarez. Now, the gunman himself, El Pistolero. There's only one striker better than Thierry Henry this era, and it's Luis Suarez. Luis Suarez, for me, I think goes there. No, he goes there. Just under Iniesta. I think Iniesta's impact across this whole generation has been more than Suarez, but Suarez has been the best striker for me. I think his consistency levels, the goal scoring, the playmaking. I'm not all about stats, and I don't want to be, but the guy has over 600 career goals, over 300 assists. The guy's a freak, man. Even at Ajax, I remember watching Luis Suarez when he was really young at Ajax, and I was blown away. Like, I was blown away by him. The goals he was scoring, how physical he was, his balance, his dribbling, his aggression, his will to win, his competitiveness. I mean, Luis Suarez was an animal. And I think that last season at Ajax, where he got like nearly 50 goals, I think, in all competitions. I mean, he just went... Suarez went insane. Went to the World Cup in 2010. Had that controversial moment against Ghana when he handballed it off the line. Obviously, that's an iconic moment. And there's a lot of them with Suarez where he's biting people or doing something controversial on the pitch, which always leaves a bit of a sour taste in people's mouths. But obviously, he went to Liverpool. First 6 months or so, didn't really do much, but showed glimpses. And then we're talking about really the next 2 full seasons that he had. I think 11-12 was good. And then you had 12-13 and 13-14 specifically, where Luis Suarez just went to a different level. Luis Suarez in 13-14 in the Premier League, you could argue he's one of the greatest singular Premier League campaigns ever from an individual player. I think you're looking at Henry in 03-04. You're looking at Drogba in 09-10. You're looking at Haaland in 22-23. There's not many that come close to Suarez, in my opinion. Suarez was just... he was an animal. And I think with Suarez, what it was, he missed the start of the season. So he didn't play for like the first 7 games, I don't think. Came back because he bit Ivanovic the season before, playing against Chelsea. And then he was out for the start of the season. Comes back, and Liverpool just go into a completely different dimension. Like, he drags Liverpool into a title challenge. Was easily the best player in the Premier League that season. They come within an inch of winning their first Premier League. And Suarez would have been the reason why they would have won it. Even though Gerrard obviously contributed a lot through set pieces and his overall play and his leadership. Sturridge and Sterling obviously contributed a lot. There's no getting away from that. That was Luis Suarez's year. That was Luis Suarez's team. The fact he dragged that team to a Premier League, going up against, you know, big spending Manchester City and Jose Mourinho coming back to Chelsea as well. So you're going up against Chelsea and Man City, and he's dragging them to a title challenge. And then obviously we can't ignore, he goes to Barcelona. Luis Suarez in his first season at Barcelona was good. He was very, very good in all fairness. I think he was really good. But it wasn't a generational season. I think his season at Liverpool was better than his treble winning season at Barcelona, in my personal opinion. But then 15-16, Luis Suarez just goes completely just nuclear. You could argue that's the best single season from a centre forward we've ever seen. Luis Suarez in 15-16 is ridiculous. He might have scored about 50-60 goals that season, Luis Suarez, in all competitions, and got about 30 assists in all competitions. He got like 80 goal involvements in a season. The guy was ridiculous. Luis Suarez in 15-16 is a joke, man. absolute joke of a player. He just went nuclear. Obviously, Messi was injured for a lot of that season. So Suarez and Neymar as well had to take a lot of responsibility on their shoulders. And Suarez specifically, he just went into a different level. It comes to a point where you know he's reached such a high level that Barca aren't even missing Lionel Messi. That's when you know you're one of the GOATs of the game. And that's what Luis Suarez is. And then even post-Barcelona, he leaves, obviously Barca, he's too old, he's past his peak, goes to Atletico Madrid, and he's essential in dragging Simeone's Atletico Madrid to a league title when Suarez is already past his peak. I mean, the guy's 33 probably at this time in his career, 30, 33, 34, and he gets over 20 goals in La Liga. I think scores against Barcelona as well on their way to winning the league. Suarez was incredible for Atleti, and then even post-Atleti goes to Gremio, scores a ridiculous amount of goals there, into Miami, linking back up with Messi. I mean, the guy's just a relentless goal scorer, no matter where he goes, no matter where he's been. The guy gets his guaranteed goals, guaranteed entertainment, guaranteed flair. He has everything, Luis Suarez. He has everything. His defensive work, his pressing, his tenacity, that South American never-say-die attitude, similar to like an Alexis Sanchez, but on a different level. That amazing goal he scored against Newcastle, I'll never forget it. When he was playing for Liverpool and the ball comes over his shoulder and he controls it on his shoulder and then weaves the ball past Tim Krul, like dummies the ball past Tim Krul and just kind of slots it in. I've never seen anything like it. Like, even from Henry in his peak, I don't think Henry in his peak really can compete with Luis Suarez. I don't think he can. I think Luis Suarez in 13-14 and Luis Suarez in 15-16 is just... I don't think... It's just a completely different level. It's a different level of striker. And at such a top level of the game as well. You're talking about when La Liga was the best league in the world. Like 15-16, La Liga was the best league in the world, and Suarez just went ridiculous in that season. You could have argued he could have won a Ballon d'Or that year. I think if Ronaldo doesn't win the Euros and Ronaldo doesn't win the Champions League, I think it's pretty much, in my opinion, a guarantee that Suarez wins the Ballon d'Or that year. But obviously that didn't happen, which is a shame for his legacy, but I don't think he needs the Ballon d'Or, to be honest. I think his consistency, his high-level performances over this era of time, from 2007, 2008, all the way up to the last few years, really. The guy has been easily one of the best strikers in the world. And for me, he's up there with the greatest strikers to ever play the game. We're talking Prime R9. Anyone you can name, any classic striker you can name, even Van Basten, Thierry Henry, Alan Shearer. You can bring any like world-class goal scorer and put them up against Luis Suarez, and Suarez sits very comfortably in that conversation for me. So Suarez, for me, is the 5th best player of this era. I think only Messi, only Ronaldo. Ronaldinho, I think, for... Then again, he's Ronaldo. No, he's not. I actually think Suarez goes there, you know. Suarez might be 3rd, I think. Suarez's numbers are just... They're a joke. Like, Ronaldinho never had a season like what Luis Suarez did in 15-16. He never did. Even at his peak, he never had a season like that. But Ronaldinho was just... If you had to be there, you had to live it, you had to be there at the time to understand what was happening in front of our eyes with Ronaldinho. There'd never really been anything like him, other than maybe R9 to an extent. But there'd never been anything like Ronaldinho. These two are so close, man. I think... Maybe that, actually. Maybe Iniesta's just underneath Suarez. Yeah, okay, I'm happy with that. Messi, Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, Suarez, Iniesta, yeah. I'm happy with that. I think maybe Henry could go above Dani Alves. Maybe Henry's there. I don't know. We'll see. But it's very close. I mean, Suarez and Iniesta, Suarez and Ronaldinho, they're so interchangeable. Once you pass Ronaldo, Messi and Ronaldo, that 3 are very interchangeable. I think we're going to leave that there today, guys. We're going to leave that there and then finish this off in part 5, where we will finish ranking the rest of the best players from 2002 to the present day. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Thanks for all the support and everything recently on the channel, all the engagement. It's been brilliant. I can't wait to do more content and hopefully get this channel to grow and build a little community where we can come and talk about football or whatever you want to talk about. I really, really appreciate it. So until next time, guys, stay safe, look after yourself, and I'll see you very, very soon. See you later.